There is a bear in the woods. For some people, the bear is easy to see. Others don't see it at all. Some people say the bear is tame. Others say it's vicious and dangerous. Since no one can really be sure who's right, isn't it smart to be as strong as the bear? If there is a bear.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
I'm a fan of classic movies.
Hello and welcome to Overlapping Dialogue, a podcast of audio commentaries dedicated to discussing cinema that fascinates us in a way we hope fascinates you. We're your co-hosts, Kyle and Levi Huffman. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Levi.
And here we are for our 18th episode. We're sending our podcast off to college now. It's 18, you know.
What a movie to do it with.
And what a movie to do it with. We thought, what better way to follow up, one of the crown jewels of New Hollywood, 5 Easy Pieces.
And one of the crown jewels of cinema.
Really,
just in general, yeah.
But it is kind of a road movie, you could say, right? I mean he's on the road quite a bit, going back home,
Sure.
You see where this is going,
true,
right?
yeah, but...
you see where this is going, right?
Yeah, this is correct.
I mean, and there's country music involved in the previous film.
I mean, yeah.
So, what better way to transition now into 2002's The Country Bears, an American musical road comedy. I think this movie was kind of infamous when it came out as being, it's based on a theme park attraction, which is, we're going to talk about, it's a phenomenon, a larger phenomenon. But I don't think this was even a particularly well-known Disney attraction, I don't really think.
Well, let me actually look into that here because I'm curious about that. I think it was well-liked. I think it was like a lot of these where it was like the animatronics and stuff, and that people like that.
But it wasn't necessarily on par with Pirates of the Caribbean, even before that was.
It wasn't even on that level, or Mission to Mars, or Haunted Mansion, even. We're going to talk about some of these. But yeah, anyway. So yeah.
Country Bears Jamboree is what it's based off of.
Country Bear Jamboree, even.
Oh, okay.
Disneyland.
So, yes, we're doing the Country Bears, and we'll talk about maybe why later. I'm, not 100% sure myself exactly why. But we thought we'd have fun and follow up something that's pretty heavy with something that was fairly light. So, Levi, why don't you walk us through some of the cast and crew and box office, the dish around town about the Country Bears.
All right, so the Country Bears is, I hear my voice just like, oh my God. By the way, we chose to do this, so I'm not aggravated. I'm just like shocked that we're even giving this movie the time of day. But anyway, The Country Bears is a 2002 American musical road comedy film directed by Peter Hastings, who does not have a Wikipedia page. That's not a good sign. Produced by Walt Disney Pictures and based on the Disney theme park attraction Country Bear Jamboree. What is this about? It's basically just about this stupid little bear kid.
What's his name again?
Beary Barrington. By the way, his name isn't Barry like as in Barry Jenkins, true artist, right? Yeah, it's like Bear,
Beary,
right? In case we couldn't get it,
So it's like he was a wayward kid who's like a part of the long lost Country Bears legacy, basically.
He
was like adopted by Stephen Tobolowsky and his family.
Yeah.
Whose last name, it should be said, is Barrington already. If you look up there, his name already is Barrington because why? And then he finds out, he realizes, oh, wait a minute, I'm a bear. I'm not a human being.
Which I thought would have been obvious at some point, but anyway.
But who among us hasn't dealt with such circumstances? Right. So he decides to strike it out, and he goes back, but realizes that the Country Bear Jamboree is about to be destroyed or replaced. And he and his fellow band of merry berry men, or not men, bears, berry bears.
They're very specifically bears, yes.
Must set out to set what's right and to reclaim the Jamboree as a place of food, fun, and fellowship.
It's basically this is basically a Blues Brothers ripoff.
Well, I was going to say that. We had watched it. We'll talk about this later. Yeah. We've watched this a bunch of times growing up and have not watched it in
15 years.
Yeah,
probably,
something like that.
I mean, yeah.
Not since I've seen Syriana. I don't think I've seen the Country Bears. No. Just let that be its own mile marker. And what is there to say about this movie? I don't know.
Well, it's not good. That's the first thing we need to say.
Another big thing that I do remember is just the random cameos that are in this.
Yeah, we'll go through some of those in a minute.
But run us through the cast real quick.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to jump down to the voice cast first because I think those are some of the more and then they also have puppeteers, so I'm not going to name, although great job.
No, this stuff looks good.
That's the one good thing about the movie is that's about it. But anyway, everybody else here I'll go through. Haley Joel Osment is Beary Barrington. Also, Elizabeth Daly, so a woman did the singing voice, a female did the singing
voice. Now, Haley Joel Osment at this point, he was kind of coming off, he was kind of the it kid of the late 90s, early 2000s in terms of child actors. A lot of people jumped to talking about him in The Sixth Sense, which he is good in that, and that is a good movie. But my mind always jumps to AI, artificial intelligence. I think he gives probably the greatest child performance ever in that movie, among others you could throw out there.
Which is funny because he's not even technically a child, but he's still.
And you could almost honestly say the same thing about the kid in the Tin Drum. I don't remember his name. He's not really a child even after a certain point.
Well, also
in terms of mentally.
Yes, but he's literally not a child. Yeah. But let me look that up let's talk about the Tin Drum.
We could double feature with this.
I can't think of two more different films, by the way.
But again, music, the Tin Drum.
David Bennett was his
Country
name.
Bear. I mean, music.
Do we want to talk about the Tin Drum right now that we brought it up, or just move on?
Well, that was for a long time this kind of weird, iconic European art film. We watched it, last year? Mm-hmm. Or has it been longer than that even now?
It was the day after my birthday.
Okay.
Happy birthday to me.
Yeah. So we watched that for the first time and was quite shocked and blown away by that. It was also really encouraging and interesting to see kind of because we see so many here in America, obviously, movies about World War II through an American lens, and that was it's kind of like through the German lens more, and so that was a good refresher.
It's famous for most people actually even know about the Tin Drum, other than just knowing about it because it's so crazy and insane. What the movie is. Other than that being known, it's known for tying for the Palme d'Or in 1979 with Apocalypse Now, which doesn't ever happen very often. And by the way, let me say the Apocalypse Now is one of the best movies ever made. I wouldn't necessarily say that the Tin Drum is that, but it lived up to being like, okay, well, because I always thought, what would be the movie that would tie with Apocalypse Now, And it's still not on that level, but what that movie's going for, I think, is actually even more ambitious and admirable than even Apocalypse Now is. But it's something.
It's very strange when Apocalypse Now is the more quote conventional film out of a pair in the movies. But that is one of the great child performances.
Sorry, we're trying to talk about something good here. Our minds are wandering, but I think it's interesting you bring that up though because I think that, like you said, that some of the best child performances like David Bennett in the Tin Drum, or which by the way, like to explain it for people who don't know. In that movie, he is a child, but he decides that he's not going to grow up after his third birthday. So he then grows old in his mind, but he's still a child. So, like, he's very advanced and, like, talking about Goethe and, like, all these different things, and he plays this tin drum all the time. And it's all a metaphor, obviously, for Nazism, and the movie's very concerned with that for the most part. But so what I think you're saying there of bringing that up with Haley Joel Osment in AI, artificial intelligence, is this side, like you said, these great child performances that are not actually even really children, but I think get at something deeper in kind of what it is to be a child, whether or not you're even a child literally in age anymore, or that you're even a human being. But anyway.
And then also there's we should mention, if we're talking about child performances, Jean-Pierre Léaud. How do you say that last name?
Yeah, I think that's
Léaud. In 400 Blows.
Right,
I mean,
of course,
one of the great movies of all time as well. Country Bears is not one of the great movies
anyway,
of all time.
Yes, anyway, sorry we had to talk about good things for a little while.
But I mean, Haley Joel Osment, there was a moment where he was kind of a pretty big deal. And then Secondhand Lines, he was getting a little older. I remember that being a perfectly fine movie. That's one of those like mid-2000s Hudson Middle School, end of the year, let's throw something on, Secondhand Lines, which is not really knocking the movie. It's actually fairly fine to good, you know.
Yeah, and it has interesting chemistry between those actors. Is a very strange kind of grouping of people. Also, I think he's been in some Kevin Smith movies recently, like Tusk, and some other stuff. I've always liked him. He's not somebody I think a whole lot about just because he's not been in an awful lot of things, but he kind of had that particular moment where it seems like he kind of just disappeared almost, and he's still around making stuff, but
I just looked a year after this. He was in the Jungle Book 2, where he did the voice of Mowgli in that.
Okay. I mean, he did a lot of voice acting.
It looked like he did do several voice acting things around this time. Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 he was in.
Okay.
Direct-to-video. I want to have a conversation about direct-to-video stuff when we're going through something a little later.
All right.
So, yeah, there's him.
So, yes.
Anyway.
Moving on. He's fine. Diedrich Bader as Ted Betterhead. Have you ever seen him before? He's on the Drew Carey show.
Oh, yeah. He's like kind of... He used to be, I think, on... he was a really... if he's the guy I'm thinking of...
It was Bruce Wayne on Batman Brave and the Bold.
Yeah, he was in Napoleon Dynamite. He was bow to your sensei.
Bow
to your sensei.
That guy. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
He's been in tons of stuff.
Right.
And I think the Drew Carey show is probably the...
bow to your sensei.
Probably the biggest thing he was in.
Oh, and then he was, he was Judah on BoJack Horseman. You remember that kind of weird guy? Yeah. So, he's been he's actually done a lot of voice acting, it looks like. So, anyway, fine. Candy Ford. As Trixie St. Clair. By the way, these are all the Bears right now that we're saying, by the way. Mm-hmm. Looks like she's been in a lot of random stuff.
So she's an impressionist, it looks like.
Yeah, she was on Curb Your Enthusiasm, the rerun show. I ain't never heard of that. Yeah. Girls Behaving Badly. I don't know about that. It's her, by the way, yes, and then, of course, for Diedrich Bader, the voice there was John Haidt for the singing voice. Because another thing about this movie, it has a lot of like country music, obviously people in it. We're going to talk about that. But so with Candy Ford, it was Bonnie Raitt, who's of course really big country musician, you know. Then also James Gammon as Big Al, the sluggish and elderly property caretaker for the Country Bear Hall, is protective of the grass in front of the Country Bear Hall.
So he's really concerned with upkeep.
Right.
There's somebody I can think of in a close family
somebody
friend
who we've mentioned not mentioning a couple times, as a matter of fact.
But real concerned about
it looks like he's just in the Major League movies.
Good for him.
You know, whatever. His first marriage ended in divorce. It says in personal life section.
Now, was this before the Country Bears was made?
Yeah, I would assume so,
okay.
Yes.
Maybe he did this as a bounce back then. I don't know.
Anyway.
No disrespect, I guess.
No. I mean... R.I.P. He has passed away.
Now, Brad Garrett.
We
all know Brad Garrett. He's from Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, Casper, A Bug's Life, Stuart Little, too.
Oh, yeah, he was here, Flick of Blood.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. It says he was Jackie Gleason in the television film Gleason. Really?
Wow.
I never know that. He kind of looks like Jackie Gleason.
I could see that.
Actually, he doesn't really look like him weight-wise, but maybe they put some weight on him. I don't know.
Maybe he had an excuse to go... by the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean.
Toby Huss. Oh, Lord.
This guy, he was
in Carnival, I think of him in
Pete and Pete, Halt and Catch Fire.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, he's been in a lot
legend.
of stuff. Yeah, he's Tennessee. Oh, by the way, Brad Garrett was Fred Betterhead, the harmonica and bass player of the band.
Well, thank you.
And it's Ted's younger brother.
Yeah.
So, and then Toby Huss is Tennessee O'Neill, like we said, the one-string guitar player in the band who's the most
But who is
sensitive.
his singing voice?
His singing voice is Don Henley of the Eagles, which we're going to come back to Don Henley later, I guess.
Yeah.
Kevin Michael Richardson is Henry Dixon Taylor, the MC and manager of the Country Bears. It says he was on Family Guy and Cleveland Show. I guess he's in a lot of Seth MacFarlane stuff. And then Stephen Root is Zeb Zuber, a fiddle player for the Country Bears. He's the most naive of the band.
I mean, Stephen Root, what a career. I mean, he's been in all kinds of stuff.
To sit and list Stephen Root's credits, I think, would be quite difficult. But let's try and go through some of these just really quickly. King of the Hill, Star Trek: The Next Generation,
Office Space was probably
Office
most
Space
people saw
was
him,
right.
yeah.
News Radio, Oh Brother Where Art Thou, Dodgeball, Man in the High Castle, Get Out, Boardwalk Empire, Barry, True Blood, Perry Mason, No Country for Old Men, another thing he's in.
He's been in several Coen Brothers things.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff with them. I mean, he's in so much stuff. He's one of my favorite, the Lady Killers, Ballad Buster Scruggs. And all
We
that.
talk about this moment all the time in Get Out. I think one of the funniest moments is just like when they're not. That's not an ostensibly a comedy, by the way. It's a horror movie.
Really.
But towards the end, where he's got where Daniel Kaluuya is like tied to the chair and he's being forced to listen to what the whole scheme is about how his body's going to be used as an avatar and basically Stephen Root's brain's going to be put in it.
Yeah.
And Stephen Root's like giving this kind of little evil monologue about I need your eyes because he was talking about what a great because he's blind.
He's like a painter, photographer. Yeah,
Kaluuya is, and he like used to be some kind of an artist or something.
I think he used to be a photographer too.
I can't remember.
Anyway,
and he really wants his eyes. He's like, I need your eyes, man. And then he says something like, all right, like cut the
like,
video.
All right, I'm done. Yeah, he's like, and it just kind of that's funny. Yeah, let me look about that actually. Let me see if I can find that. No, he was just an art dealer.
Right.
That's what it was. And he used to be an artist, so never mind. Okay. He wasn't a photographer.
But anyways.
Stephen Root and a lot of stuff. You know something? We don't have time to talk about Barry right now, which is a show that we actually don't really like very much, and I know everybody loves. Him on that show is one of the most gloriously frustrating things because I love Stephen Root. But his role in that show is not only annoying in what it is meant to be, like it is purposefully annoying, I get it. But do you remember that ending of that? It was pretty recently. It was like, I think it was in the last season, there was that episode that ended where Henry Winkler went and found the dead body of that police chief that he was in love with. And there's that shot of like Stephen Root pointing the gun at the back of his head, and it's like the most annoying thinking it's so cool thing of all time. It's like, and first, we just don't really like that show. We don't really have time to talk about it right now. We gave it a lot of,
we already gave, the tin drum deserved our time. I don't even think Barry did.
Well, all I'll say about Barry right now is that, first, and the tin drum is good, Barry is not. That's the important thing to remember, that the Marleys are dead to begin with.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. As in the Christmas Carol.
I gotta say,
Muppet version.
Growing up on the Muppet Christmas Carol forever ruined the Christmas Carol in the sense that I always think of the Marleys as two brothers. Yeah. And it's always been one man, but it was because it was Statler and Waldorf in the Muppet Christmas Carol. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah. So about Barry, the thing that I always thought about Barry, was that when I heard what it was going to be,
are you talking about Barry and the Country Bears?
No, not Barry as in bear. No, not Barry Barrington.
See, it all connects. Shared universe.
I could care.
You're thinking about how the universe is a shared universe.
I mean, I guess so. I don't know. I mean, the Buddhists came up with that.
The Milky Way is a shared universe.
Yeah, the Buddhists came up with that idea. So anyways,
I'm trying to
we're going all over the place. Yeah, which I mean, I think this movie deserves this treatment, frankly. Yeah. So the fact we're doing it at all, I think, is a testament to something that we have yet to figure out. But anyway, so what I thought about Barry, the TV show HBO, was that it was gonna be like, okay, so you remember on Documentary Now,
which we love,
yes. And that's another problem with Barry, is that it took more time away from Bill Hader on Documentary Now, which led to the third season of that not being as good as the first two seasons. It was, but the best episodes of that were the bowling ones, which were basically making fun of the Pete Weber character Pete Weber's a real person, but and that had Tim Robinson. No, not Tim Robinson. What's his name?
Leif
guy,
Erikson?
No, the guy that is on. The guy that's.
Michael C. Hall, he was on it. Right?
Yeah, but then the other guy that's on. That show. I think you should leave.
Yeah.
What's his name? Not Tim Robinson. Something like that, though. I feel stupid. I should know this. Tim Robinson, yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Right all along.
Anyways, so I thought that it was going to be, in my mind, when I heard what Beary was going to be, I thought it was going to be ostensibly more comedic, and I thought it was going to be like what I imagined in my mind is him playing the Robert Evans type that he played in. That he's like, I'm a comedian, and I'm also an assassin. Like, if that makes no sense to you, why I thought that, I can't explain.
Well,
it,
I know Bill
like,
Hader's talked a lot about that. This was like, it's like, it's his real. You can tell it's his big swing in terms of like, this is something I've been wanting to do for forever, which is frankly discouraging. But anyways, we can move on from talking about Beary.
But the fact that people are like the Stash House raid is like a cool thing.
Yeah.
We're gonna move on.
Yeah.
So yes, Stephen Root's great. Let's get all the way back out of there.
But again,
we dug a hole.
Barry.
Yes.
I mean, it
Beary
all connects.
Barrington. But Stephen Root's great. But him on that show is my favorite thing to watch, but is still not good.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I do like Henry Winkler in the show.
Yeah, I think he's
good.
he's actually the best, genuinely the best thing in it. And honestly, I haven't seen Henry Winkler in a lot of things. Like, I didn't grow up watching him on TV on Happy Days and stuff. So like for me, it's like, Henry Winkler, like, other than Waterboy, like, that. Yeah. But anyway, so, all right, moving back up to the live-action cast here. Christopher Walken as Reed Thimple, a banker and the main villain of the film. By the way, villain has its own, like, page, a Wikipedia page. Who plots to destroy the Country Bear Hall. He's actually an armpit musician named Benny Bogswaggle, who lost to the Country Bears in a talent competition. I'm going to repeat this again in case you didn't hear it. He is an armpit musician named Benny Bogswaggle, who lost to the Country Bears in a talent competition.
In relation to Hornswoggle?
That's what I was wondering, but probably not. Yes, and then Michael Lawrence Morgan as young Benny Bogswaggle.
No Wikipedia page for him.
No.
So Christopher Walken, this is our first time talking about him.
The one thing I want to say about Christopher Walken is that how people are about Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
How they think and by the way, I think Christopher Walken actually has been a really good actor. I'm not convinced of that with Nicolas Cage necessarily. So I think Christopher Walken is above even that. But the way that people talk about Nicolas Cage and like they talk about what even is acting and like it's a new form of acting or whatever, which I don't believe, but anyway, I think that's what I kind of think about Christopher Walken, that it's like, I love Christopher Walken, but I don't think it's because he's genuinely great. I think it's because he's such a freak of nature that has been really good.
Yeah.
He's been really good in things. Like, I think he's really good in like The Deer Hunter and Heaven's Gate.
Well, I was going to say, we grew up watching him in a lot of 90s and 2000s stuff onward.
Right.
And he's already was that point kind of the punchline and a joke to a certain extent, even though he was in some good stuff. So it's actually been a really positive education to go back and watch some of his stuff in the
and even
late
like
70s,
The Dead Zone or something like that. Like,
and him, especially in Heaven's Gate, I really think a lot of. Even more recently, so to speak, we saw King of New York.
Yeah.
That is like around the time it's becoming more of
how he loves money.
To be.
I mean, yeah.
But he is genuinely good in that too.
I think that's the thing is that I think he actually is a good actor, so I don't want to take away from that. But I think I look at him, like I said, the way that people think about Nicolas Cage, who some people actually think is a good actor. Now I like Nicolas Cage, but I'm not convinced of such, okay? Like, I mean, crazy evil. I mean, somebody that does that, I'm not convinced that they're good at doing anything, frankly. So, like I said, in that sense, that's the way I view him. But is in that way.
This is also an era where he was just the villain in a lot of strange movies. There was in this, Kangaroo Jack.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if have you seen all that?
I have, but it's been even longer ago than I last saw this. So
he's like the bad guy in that, and I think his like main stooge in that is like Michael Shannon, a young Michael Shannon. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Anyways,
So anyway, we'll talk about him throughout the movie here and there. I mean, oh no, and
speaking of Michael Shannon, another movie Michael Shannon was in was Groundhog Day.
Yes.
Which, one of the most memorable characters of which was played by who?
Wait, Michael Shannon was in Groundhog Day?
Mm-hmm.
Very
early
I guess
role.
I haven't seen that movie since I've known who Michael Shannon is. Stephen Tobolowsky is Mr. Norbert Barrington, Barry's honorable and good-natured adopted father. I love Norbert. Like he's the daggum Hagrid dragon, like, by the way.
Well, I am glad that, like,
but
I don't know, it would have been, it's a Disney movie, so I guess, what do you expect? But I am glad that, like, his family, his human family,
yes,
was not, like, abusive or something.
No,
They're, like, very supportive.
Well, but the brother is like, but you're not a human being.
But I think he goes through his character arc,
right.
and, like,
but also it's like,
what?
that's just
him.
a basic factual statement at a point. It's just like, he is not a human being. He is an animal.
I mean, literally, he's sitting around a table we're going to see in this movie with, like, full-fledged human beings, and he's just like Harry Barron. We're just looking at him like he's it's normal.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already through the Rubicon of we got talking bears and, you know, and who wear clothes and play instruments, so, I mean...
Right. So, Stephen Tobolowsky...
As Christopher Walt said in Django Unchained, who knows what could happen? You know?
Okay. So Stephen Tobolowsky, obviously, he's been in so many things. I think of him in Deadwood quite a bit.
The biggest thing
actually,
I think of him in, and I think objectively most people would think of him in Groundhog Day, is Memento.
Yeah.
And he's like pretty small role in that, and it's even kind of in these... Well, I don't even know if you'd really categorize them as, flashbacks, basically.
Well,
flashback
they're almost
stories.
even possibly, like, manufactured flashbacks. So he doesn't even exist almost in the movie. It's weird.
Or
but,
did, and the rationale is being used for... Anyways.
Right.
But, you know, his lines of...
Test this, you effing quack.
And then the shots
it's
over and over
again. It's just a test, Sammy. Yeah. No, I mean, Stephen Tobolowsky, and also it should be noted that he also, another one of our favorite things he would have had to do with is that he wrote the screenplay for True Stories, the David Byrne film, which is really great.
Was it true? I think it was true that he at some point in writing that or conceiving of something stumbled upon the name Radiohead while he was doing that?
Well, actually, it's that there's the Talking Head song Radiohead.
Right.
That Radiohead took that name because Radiohead was originally called On a Friday, was their original band name, which is actually
on a Friday.
Yes, which is actually, and I love the name Radiohead, but I actually think that's a great band name too, is On a Friday. But anyway, I've always wanted to say that recorded somewhere. I'm glad it's on the record.
It's been documented.
So
go in the Wikia fans,
right? But yes, so that movie, I don't know. I think that was just a Talking Head song that they wrote.
Okay.
I don't remember. We'll probably do that movie at some point. We'll dig into all that. But anyway, so yeah, Stephen Tobolowsky's done a lot of things, been in a lot of things. Always good. Daryl Mitchell is Officer Ham, and Diedrich Bader as Officer Sheets. So he plays two roles.
So I wonder if he got paid double. I don't know.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Daryl Mitchell. Let's see if he's John Larroquette show.
I've seen some of the John Larroquette show that you can find on YouTube.
Yeah. I've seen some of that too.
And I do remember him on that. He's the character.
So yeah, they're the cops in the movie who get caught in the car wash in the one scene. And there's that scene where there's the chase and they've got Call Me the Breeze playing, which is just hilarious that a Leonard Skinner song is in a Disney movie, but you know, whatever. So yeah, they're the cops,
whatever, cops.
Who cares? Alex Rocco as Rip Holland, the former promoter of the Country Bears, whom you would probably know as Mo Green. Everybody would know Alex Rocco as.
Right, Mo Green of the Godfather fame.
Right. He's also in The Friends of Eddie Coyle.
We recently saw him in Freebie and the Bean.
Oh, and that's true, yes.
He was like I don't know if he was like the
commissioner
or police chief or something.
I think he was either the police chief or he was the district attorney. I can't remember what he was.
Said he won an Emmy for his show.
The famous Teddy Z. What is that? Some sitcom in the 80s and 90s. Okay, I never heard of that. Yeah, it says he won it in 1990.
Well, there you go. Good for him.
All right. Let's see. When did he pass away?
2015.
Okay, he's 79. I always love Alex Rocco. I mean, obviously, like
one of the most bone-chilling images randomly is him in Friends of Eddie Coyle wearing that plastic mask.
Yeah.
Those plastic masks always look disturbing to me because they don't quite fit on the human face. They're kind of above it, and so I always think
By the way, a couple things. Yes, he was the DA in Freebie and the Bean.
Oh, DA, okay.
and also the first film he was ever in is called Motor Psycho, which is which is a Russ Meyer film.
I've never heard of that. That's
I haven't either. Russ Meyer made that, so that's at least worth mentioning. One thing I want to say now, Friends of Eddie Coyle, that's actually obviously other than The Godfather, the thing I think of him in the most, and that's one of our kind of favorite movies of some note. We'll probably do that on here eventually. We just watched The Hot Rock, which is another Peter Yates film that he made just before The Friends of Eddie Coyle, so from what I've seen from Peter Yates, I'm pretty impressed. He also made Bullet, which I haven't seen. Yeah. We really love The Friends of Eddie Coyle. Really great movie.
If only Peter Yates would have directed this, it could have been a different project.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been more serious. So, even though that's what I thought was funny, though, about watching The Hot Rock, is that it's actually pretty funny. It's a comedy.
Yeah, right.
And that I watched The Friends of Eddie Coyle, and that's a very serious,
deeply
somber
serious
movie, which has funny moments in it, but overall it's very serious. But a lot of great performances in that movie. Anyway, sorry, I'm just trying to talk about good things here. MC Gainey as Rhodey, the bus driver for the Country Bears, who also doubles as the band's drummer. He owns a pet chicken named Mr. Chicken. That's one of the things I've always remembered most about this movie is that character. Now, we should say about MC Gainey, who's been in a lot of things, I've always thought of him most as being in Con Air. And you said he's also on Lost.
I actually probably think I'm most from Lost.
He's the we need to take the boy.
We're going to have to take the boy.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to have to, they have to do it. Which is just hilarious. He's also in, let's see, he was in Citizen Ruth.
In 1986, he was in a movie called Rat Boy.
Yeah, so I guess he's actually worked quite a bit with, a couple times with Alexander Payne, because he was also in Sideways, where he let it all hang out.
Well, it says in Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, he was a roadhouse bouncer.
Oh, okay. Was that the guy when it was like when he stole that male stripper's clothes? Would it have been that scene?
Might have been, yeah. I can't quite remember. I was actually just thinking about this the other day. You know what? I think the best video game feature of all time was in that one Terminator 3 game where it had a button you pressed and the Arnold avatar said a line.
Oh, really?
You could just keep pressing it over and over again. He would just keep saying,
and it would
lines.
Cycle through.
Yeah, but it had a lot, though.
Really?
A good amount. I just remember that. Anyways.
MC Gainey's been in a lot of stuff. I mean, whatever.
He's literally, his name's like Swamp Thing in Con Air, right?
Yeah. Well, of course, that's not his real name.
Right, well,
but then again, in that movie, I don't know. Maybe he is.
Comic book world, anyways.
We'll be doing that movie at some point, I'm sure, which is a hilariously terrible movie. But
Nick
I
Cage,
love it.
by the way.
Again. Yeah.
There you go.
Megan Faye. These are going through some names here I don't really know. Megan Faye as Norma Barrington.
Read what it says about her, though.
Barry's excitable yet easily worried adoptive mother.
I love it. Somebody took the time to add all these.
Eli Marienthal as Dexter Dex Barrington, so that's the brother. I feel like I've seen him in something. I can't remember what it is. We're taking a really long time on this cast, by the way.
There's a lot of people.
Jack Frost, American Pie, Iron
Mystery of the Batwoman, who's Tim Drake.
Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. Wow. Didn't work after 2004, it looks like, so I guess the Iraq War
went on to better things.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the Iraq War was too much for him. I don't know. Jennifer Page.
Sometimes you just got to kick it into gear.
As waitress. By the way, there's a waiting staff, wait staff, waiters, waitresses, or servers. Somebody put way too much work into this country.
Why would somebody just do that?
TV report. Yeah, because they had bus driver up here, too. Look at that picture of that guy, bus driver. Looks like a totally happy individual. I appreciate that.
It's part of the life.
Anyway, yeah, so, yes, she's in this. Jess Harnell, I'm assuming...
What's his name? What's his credit again?
He is Long-Haired Dude, one of the Bears fans who's later seen with Dex in the audience at the end of the film.
So he's a homie. He's voiced Wacko in Animaniacs.
Right. Crash Bandicoot, yeah. America's Funniest Home Videos used to say he does a lot of voice acting, it looks like. Paul Rugg as TV reporter. You ever seen him before? He looks kind of familiar.
Yeah, vaguely familiar.
See enough movies.
All these white people look the same.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't know.
As a white guy.
Yeah. He was on Animaniacs too. Not the sequel, Yeah, it looks like he's been in a lot of stuff. Command. Yeah.
Freakazoid chimpanzee. He voiced Freakazoid.
Oh, okay. So they got all that looks like all Freakazoid and
Chimpanzee
there, yeah. And then, okay, so now we've got a bunch of cameos here. Crystal, who was a singer-songwriter, it's like contributions to the Princess Diaries soundtracks.
Okay.
From her album Me and My Piano. Have you ever seen that? I have, actually.
I don't think so.
I don't remember anything about it, but, Don Henley as himself obviously was in the Eagles, had a solo career. You have anything to say about the Eagles?
I know you're not that big a fan of Eagles.
No.
I don't really like them all that much either. I mean, the thing about it is, if I hear an Eagles song come on, I'm usually unoffended, but I don't really like this all that much. But,
I've always actually liked Joe Walsh, though.
Yeah, I do like Joe Walsh.
I mean, I don't sit and listen to Joe Walsh constantly or anything, but Life's Been Good to Me, Rocky Mountain Way, some good songs, whatever. So Don Henley, I think I'd forgotten this. There's apparently a moment in the movie where he appears in the place of the bear, I think.
Okay.
I said that in one of the reviews.
Okay,
so we're going to be watching this. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize, but I swear
don't quite
I think
remember
they said that.
But yeah.
And then John Hyatt, we talked about him earlier. He's a country musician, I guess. You know what this movie needed, by the way, I want to say now before we keep going, was Lyle Lovett. I would have enjoyed that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Anyway, Sir Elton John.
Now, I got to say, I'm not the biggest Elton John fan necessarily, but he is way too big to be in this movie. I mean, some of these other names, you're like, well, they used to kind of be a deal,
and a lot of these people are country musicians, which he is not.
Yeah, I'm just shocked. I'm was he just hanging around the Disney set one day?
Right. Well,
and hey, Sir Elton, we got a walk-on part
Well, and
for
it
you.
says here, as himself, he is mistaken as Ted's gardener by the Undercountry Bears and has allowed Ted to bunk with him.
Okay.
So anyway, I mean, I like Elton John.
I like him too.
I'm going to say something that sounds like, I must love him necessarily, but I think he is one of the great musical geniuses. He's not somebody I really listen to an awful lot.
Crocodile Rock.
But you hear his songs, and you hear his songs, and you're just like, this person was born to make music.
Right.
Clearly,
I'm just saying he's just.
That's what I'm saying. It's you've got
he's way too
somebody
big to be
of
in
that
this.
genius talent in this movie. I just don't get, but yeah.
Queen Latifah.
Yeah, Queen Latifah as herself. Latifah also plays Cha-Cha, the manager of the Swarming Hive Honey Bar restaurant. I'm guessing she's playing a bear. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I don't know.
Queen Latifah, remember.
Set it off,
Yeah.
Was that movie she made with, was it Dolly Parton or... No, who was it?
Isn't she on that Equalizer TV reboot now?
Yeah.
Which is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Which I guess is sort of probably a light spinoff of the Denzel Washington movies they came out with recently. All this, of course, The Equalizer was a TV show,
right.
as we remember from Rob Reiner cursing about it in The Wolf of Wall Street. But anyway, what movie? Joyful Noise. Okay,
yeah. I got a free poster to that. I remember.
Wait, really?
Some movie.
Do you have it?
I threw it away.
Oh,
we kept it up in the dorm for a while though. It wasn't even that big. It was like a smaller one.
Yeah, like
it was some movie in
2011,
2012. They had them out, and I grabbed one and put it on me and my cousin Philip's dorm room.
Willie Nelson as himself.
Well, this begs the question. Well, if you thought Sir Elton was too big, do you think Willie Nelson was too big? Well, again, to what you said, this is country music,
right?
So it makes sense for Willie Nelson to be more involved. We'll just go ahead and say. This will offend maybe some listeners. We're just not really that big Willie Nelson fans.
Well, and there are people in our family who are massive fans of him.
I'll be honest, I just haven't even heard a whole lot.
Because that's what I want to be on the record on this. My opinion on Willie Nelson is totally unfounded. I haven't listened to any of his music, but
he's buddies with Jimmy Carter, so he can't be that bad.
He seems like a perfectly amiable enough individual. I don't have any problems with, but I just don't get the whole appeal. I don't know. His
performance in Straight Time. And
Thief. Thief, yeah. That's actually what I think of him most. I'm like, he was in Thief, yeah. But like you said, I think it makes more sense because
he's obviously a part of the country music world.
And Elton John is one of the biggest musicians of all time.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I'm not saying Willie Nelson isn't exactly that, but it's like, but Willie Nelson or Elton John rather is just so big. I don't know.
Yeah.
Bonnie Raitt as herself, obviously she's a big musician. I talked about her a little bit earlier. She's done a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Setzer, who's that? He's another musician. Wow. That guy. Oh, he's in Stray Cats. The Stray Cats Strut.
Right.
As we remember, yes. Wow, okay. We'll move on. We've already talked about Stray Cats a little bit, I think. And if we didn't talk enough about him, we're not going to right now. Don Was, also Don Edward Fagenson, I guess. Fagenson, I guess is how you say it.
Fagenson, I'm not sure.
I don't know. Yeah.
It might be how you say it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Don Was as himself. Anyway, yeah, I guess he's a musician too. Never really heard of him.
No.
Wycliffe Jean. That's an interesting name.
He's a rapper.
Oh, he's a rapper. And then Exhibit also.
Yeah.
Who,
so
by
now,
the way,
it should be said, all these people, it's like, oh, the Country Bears inspired me to be who I am today. Yeah. So I don't know how Exhibit, how he was particularly
I think somebody said that in one of the reviews. Yeah, I'm going to jump to that. Now, well, first of all, let's speak real quickly before we move on. I want to read part of a review here for this movie. The movie was made for movie was made for $35 million and only made $18 million. So it was a flop. It was a critical flop.
Somehow, though, the Walt Disney Company got through it.
Yeah. And it was released theatrically, but I think most people saw it on VHS.
I'm trying to think. I think I did see this in the theater. Do you remember seeing this in the theater?
No, I didn't. No.
I think our grandmother might have taken me to see this. Okay. I mostly saw it on
Well, I might have
VHS
been there, but I just don't remember
it.
The first movie I ever remember seeing, well, actually, let me look about this. I want to make sure. What was the first movie you ever remember seeing in theaters, by the way?
I lightly remember Pocahontas, I believe.
Okay.
It's between that and Casper, I know. I think... both were 95, so I would have been 2.5, nearly 3 years old.
Okay. Hang on a second. I'm looking about
let me just say this while we're talking about music and soundtracks. Yeah. I think the Pocahontas soundtrack might be among the most underrated Disney soundtracks ever. I think it's interesting, because there's a lot of these live-action Disney remakes. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's one they never do because the Touch It is going to be this huge controversy, but I think... The right hands could be interesting, but again, most of these live action remakes are whatever, anyways.
So okay, the first movie I remember seeing in theaters was Finding Nemo. Very soon after that, the same year, was Cat in the Hat.
Those
the Mike Myers film.
03?
Yeah, 03.
Okay,
yeah. Because I was making sure about which one would have come.
Now I remember we took you to see Shrek.
I don't
for the first
that.
time. You don't remember that,
but what and then something we're not going to talk about Cat in the Hat right now. But did you know that Emmanuel Lubezki shot that?
Yeah. I always forget that, and then I see the credit, and I always forget, and I'm like, wait,
what the hell? Anyway,
I mean, you know he loves money.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. Well, anyway.
But I mean, he's one of our best cinematographers.
No, so I'm like, and the movie looks good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just like, anyway. So,
but I just can't help but think of like an art book, though, of like images from the cinema of
and it like
Lubezki, and then it's like, The New World.
Right.
Burn After Reading, The Cat in the Hat. Just like one after the other. Just
Anyway.
So this is from Roger Ebert's review.
I want to move on and talk about this. So this is Roger Ebert's review from 2002. He gave it 2 stars
out of 4.
So I think that's
as
charitable.
bad as it could be. Yeah.
This is just the funniest opening to a review I've ever heard. This paragraph. The formidable technical skills in the Country Bears must not be allowed to distract from the film's terminal inanity. Here's a story about a young music fan who persuades his favorite band to reunite after 10 years for a concert, and the fan and the band members are all bears. Why they are bears, I do not know. Do they know that they are bears? Not necessarily. Do any of the humans mention that they are bears? Only in passing. Are there real bears in the woods who would maul and eat their victims, or are all bears benign in this world? These are not questions one is expected to pose about a movie based on a stage show at Disney World. We simply have to accept that some of the characters in the movie are people and others are bears, and get on with it. If Stuart Little's family can have a 2-inch mouse as a son, then why not musical bears? We must celebrate diversity.
Go back to that for a second.
Okay, sure.
Something he says there about do any of these humans mention that they are bears only in passing? I think back to the scene of when it's formally revealed to Beary that he's a bear. And
by the way, that feels like it's trying to be like that scene in The Jerk when he learns that he's not
that's
black.
What I was going to say.
Right.
Is that
really?
It's like,
okay.
A version of that is just like, it's treated as though he's just simply a different race, Oh, like you're black, or oh, you're Asian, or whatever, with no big deal, whatever. But it's like, no, you're a literal other species,
right?
You know what I mean?
You are a bear,
but it's treated like, oh, you're different. We love you still, but it's like he is a literal bear. You are a human,
right?
there's a bigger disconnect
Right,
there than just
yeah.
simple racial differences
Right.
or whatever.
But it's like you said, it's true. Like I said, you were hinting at, it's treated like The Jerk.
Yeah.
The Steve Martin movie, which famously opens, he's living with his black family, and he learns, oh, I'm not black.
Yeah.
And it's like, which is hilarious in that movie, but it's like, yeah, I don't know.
This is like 25 years later almost. And
But I think, you know, what's interesting about that, and this is the segue I'm going to make to start talking about these theme park stuff. Was that the next thing on our agenda?
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah.
Okay. We have a little agenda for this, by the way, in case you couldn't tell. We're
Yeah,
40
for all
minutes
of our
in, and we're
movies.
just not we're just now getting to this.
yeah, we didn't have Barry or Tin Drum on our agenda,
Right,
but
you know, whatever. The but I think that's interesting is that they're obviously trying to do as much as they can to make a movie out of the Country Bear Jamboree. Right?
which is something that ostensibly lasts 20, 30 minutes for people who go to the
Yeah,
thing
and they're like, "Oh, that was kind of cool,"
and then leave and forget about it.
and they would remember more about like Space Mountain. I say Magic Mountain, Space Mountain, or the Teacup Ride,
Or the
whatever.
weirdo who was reading Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain in the roller coaster next door.
Right,
next
yes,
door.
But something, a misconception a lot of people had about this at the time I want to talk about. This was the second theatrical film on an attraction of one of its theme parks, third overall. A lot of people said this was the first, but the first actually, and I've seen this first one, the television film Tower of Terror. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, many years ago. It has Steve Guttenberg, I believe, in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was actually the first of these that ever happened was Tower of Terror, which used
Now,
to be...
it should be said in the theme park, isn't it like called the Twilight Zone's Tower of Terror?
Yeah, it was kind of like a Twilight Zone thing, which I never understood. But yes, it's you know what's funny about that is I've never been on it, but it's a very Did you ever ride that? I think you did. Didn't you?
Once or twice,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
You know what's funny about that? It's just a very basic drop ride.
yeah.
There's nothing.
There's
to
just
it.
all this ceremony behind.
Right,
It's just
and it's like there's an
down.
elevator and a haunted hotel, whatever. Now, so yes, that was actually the first that ever happened. They made a movie out of that. Also, the theatrical release Mission to Mars, the Brian De Palma film with Gary Sinise.
Which I've not seen this.
I have not either. You know something I want to remark upon about that, though? Have you ever seen the ending of that movie?
Yeah.
That's one of the weirdest endings to a movie I've ever seen. Well, I don't know if it's even the end, but it's like the climactic moment of the movie where it's like this really big swelling music, and Gary Sinise is floating in the pod, and he's looking around. He looks like he's like on anesthesia or something. It's one of the weirdest endings to any movie. I just wanted to put that out
And
there
it's
because
also
I've seen that.
The whole movie strange. Presume I haven't seen the whole thing, but it's like Brian. Excuse me, I was about to say Michael Mann. Brian De Palma doing like a space movie, which isn't something you would.
Which around this
naturally
time
think.
he had also done Mission Impossible.
Right.
So I guess he had done The Untouchables before that in the 80s. So I guess he was just doing all these adaptions of things at this time,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah. Well, he ripped off Hitchcock his whole career, so what's
Right.
a few
Oh,
more,
yeah. So who gives a crap?
Yeah.
So this is actually the third overall second theatrical film. But a lot of people, I think maybe
But I think the thing with this and Mission to Mars, though, is
Right.
that this is really known this is a thing at the Disney parks.
Because Mission to Mars could be easily misconstrued as just a Brian De Palma movie.
Or just some big space movie.
Or some big space movie that is at least light. But I think people forgot about that. I don't really know. It doesn't really matter. But ultimately, obviously, at this time, this was all a thing that was going on. Two other big ones that we'll mention really quickly, and we're going to talk about one of them a little bit. But were Pirates of the Caribbean, which is obviously the biggest one by far.
That's the next year.
And the Haunted Mansion, which was also in 2003. One thing I want to say, though, really quickly, I guess the question is, what's your opinion of the idea of doing this? Like a lot of people talk about this at the time about like, should we be doing this theme parks as
Movies.
Movies?
Yeah.
Or theme park rides as movies. What do you think about that?
Well, on the outline, I don't know if you noticed this, I wrote down theme park movies, as bad as they sound.
Right.
Because I think it's easy to just, like, a lot of critics at the time had their knives out for this movie was a piece of trash, so it makes sense.
Right,
why they would.
yeah.
But even with Pirates of the Caribbean, which that came in 2003, a year later, and we just recently rewatched the first one, and we have seen that a bunch of times growing. I mean, that was a foundational movie for us growing up. And the
5-star movie, by the way.
No, I was going to say,
yeah.
I think it's a lot of older people would chafe at this. I'd stand by this, and I say this is a huge fan of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was the Raiders of the Lost Ark of our generation, in the sense that it took all of these, archetypes that had kind of fallen by the wayside and were kind of in disrepair. And of course, with Raiders, it was the 30s adventure serial, and even to an extent like comic books like Sergeant Rocks and some other stuff. And then with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, it was taking, of course, like the pirate movie, which had been kind of fallen by the wayside, hadn't really had any made since then. Ostensibly, the last one even made, at that point, before that would have maybe been Hook to a certain extent, about 12 years before. But, of course, it's taking the, quote, Pirates of the Caribbean, quote, IP, if you want to call it that. Have you rode the Pirates of the Caribbean ride?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about that is that it's just kind of a fun, dark ride. You're going through, it's pirate stuff. They've since added Jack Sparrow to the ride.
Yeah, because they've added Jack Sparrow. There was also that part where you go down that little waterfall and they had the face of Davy Jones. I remember when we went, they had the face of Davy Jones in the water there. Because that would have only been like, I can't remember when I first went to Disney World, it would have been the very late 2000s or
Dead Man's Chest came out in 2006.
I think it was 2006 or 2007 when we would have done that, so it would have been right at that time those movies had come out. But yeah, so it's weird, because they've added stuff to it now, but it's overall the same thing.
But there's a lot of modern problems in cinema, specifically with the Walt Disney Company you can point to. I actually think this whole notion of making a movie out of a theme park is, frankly, among the least offensive things that they can do.
That's what I was going to say.
I don't think it's actually that bad of a thing because, in the end, there's only so many theme park rides.
Yeah.
They can't adapt all of them. And to, quote, adapt them, what does that mean? It's just taking an aesthetic, really.
Right.
Because all of them have, like, okay, Pirates aesthetic, singing bears, country music aesthetic, if you want to say that. Tomorrowland, which that came out
that's another
like
version
2015, 2016, something like that. Brad Bird directed that. Movie that I liked fine enough in the moment, but have since forgotten about pretty quickly. Kind of the retro-futuristic sci-fi aesthetic. Yeah. So, I mean, all these things are fairly just like choose your own adventure, do with them what you will, aesthetics or ideas. I think really the problem is not that theme parks are being made into the movies, but you get a hit like Pirates of the Caribbean, and say what you will about 2 and 3, they're kind of messy, but we're sort of fans of them. They try to do stuff, but then after that it's just the sequelitis. And frankly, out of all these theme park ride movies, the Pirates franchise has been the only one that's frankly even really caught on in the extent they've even really made sequels to them. Because there was no Country Bears 2.
Well, and I feel like that was very clearly the most developed. Obviously, by far, it had the biggest cast. It had the most money. It seems, and I think,
Gore Verbinski as a director was really trying to do something with like a story.
And
in
I
those
think
movies.
that people wanted something like that so badly. Like you said, we were saying so that I think people were so starved for a movie like that that they, I don't know if they knew that or not necessarily, but that they had that, awareness of that, but that. It's just clearly that obviously it's a pirates thing. You can make the most out of that.
Pirates are just kind of a archetype that goes back centuries now.
Yeah,
and it's just like we've always kind of loved pirates, and that was just another excuse to go. Oh, remember pirates? I mean, that whole thing wasn't that cool. So it was just a way to just kind of bring that back into the public eye. So again, I actually overall don't think this whole notion of theme park movies is that bad. What's bad is just the sequelitis and the franchisability. And then even now we're at a further developed stage where all these continuities, I mean, the Marvel movie is a concept. Some would say that they're trying to replicate the theme park ride. But when you get to the end of a theme park ride, you don't have a post-credit scene about, all right, now you got to ride this ride.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that would get annoying if that's what it was. But
the most version you would ever have of something like that is if you had I lost my train of thought. If you had a person, how on a lot of rides you have the guide who's with you, and they say they're funny things or whatever, which I'm saying that like, oh, that's stupid, but I mean, yeah, it's fine. I mean, whatever. But that the most version you would get of something like that is if they would joke like, go to the gift shop or go to but it's like in the moment, obviously funny kind of thing. But yeah, there's not like an expectation of you to do anything. Like you said, it's like it's just over. Of course, and obviously this is the opposite.
Shouldn't that be what, in a lot of ways, these blockbuster movies are?
Yeah.
I mean, they should try to have a good story and try to have this well-developed characters and set pieces that stick with you. But in the end, most blockbusters are their own versions of theme park rides.
Because and I think that's what I think's interesting about Pirates is that really the only two films that link themselves together very definitively are 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Of Dead Man's Chest and At World's End. The other 4 and 5, which are not very good.
No.
4 at least it's not really that bad. 5 was terrible, but 4. On Stranger
Remember the
Tides.
climax of that movie, by the way? 5, where it's like taking place all underwater.
Yeah.
I remember just having this washed moment of watching that, thinking like, what even is cinema at this point? Just like seeing the way everything looked. And that's not a compliment, by the way, of what I was saying. I was just really like in a state of like, what is even going on? What is the gravity of any of this? Like, it's all been lost.
But yeah, so with at least on Stranger Tides had Ian McShane as Blackbeard.
And Penelope Cruz.
And, and it's like, it had some things about it that were like, okay, whatever, But that's what I kind of liked about that one in the moment, at least, is that it was like, let's just do a one-off, and it was a little more open in that way, and it kind of didn't matter what it was.
I mean, that you remember seeing at the very end of Dead Man's Chest, that reveal of Barbossa was still alive or whatever, and you're like, wait, what? Like, and that was such a big moment.
Yeah, and I remember seeing it in the theater. It was a big deal.
Something I don't really have another time I'll probably get to bring this up, but I just very deeply think, when I think about this phenomenon, it feels like a very deeply 2000s phenomenon.
Yeah.
Because ever since then, we've moved on from this. I feel like the Marvel movies have sucked out all the oxygen in terms of Disney's attention and Disney's priorities. But I just very distinctly remember the summer of 2006, sitting at Lakewood Campground at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, a place we used to go all the time, reading the USA Today, sitting there as I would have been, 13 years old, going on 14, and reading about, Superman Returns, and Dead Man's Chest were going to face off at July 4th weekend or whenever it was of 2006. Who's going to come out on top? And I just always think about that moment of that time and place that just feels utterly lost to me. And I'm not even saying that we need to go back to that time and place. I'm just saying that's just something I'm very nostalgic for is that moment. And both of those movies, I'd say Dead Man's Chest has kind of been more remembered just because of the franchise that it kind of kept going. Yeah. But even that movie's been kind of forgotten ultimately.
Yeah. Well, and also
certainly Superman Returns has been. But
I wouldn't. Well, sadly, and you would know this more than anybody, Superman's kind of just been forgotten about in general. And I would even lightly push back and say, no, we do need to go back to that because I know, not really necessarily, but it's like that's when movies mattered to people.
Well, that's what I mean. It's just like that. It was even like this versus this. You had a choice. Where were you going to go? I feel like now it's just like this movie, it's going to come out. It's going to make $300 million opening weekend. No other competition.
Yeah, right.
And then you wait 3-4 more weeks. The next Disney movie comes out, makes all this money. It's just so set.
Yeah.
Everything's so, and people were complaining about a version of this back in the 2000s even, I know. But that
now it should be said this is all the time we grew up in, and we have a specific idea about the way things were that is different than other people. So if you're older and you're listening to this and saying, well, it was garbage then too, it's like, well, I guess it was, but it was just that was our time when it was better off, And frankly, it was better off.
I think objectively it was.
So it wasn't the best thing ever or nothing, but you were having good X-Men movies. Good Spider-Man movies being made. The Batman movies weren't being made at that time, but you were going to have some good ones at least that were frankly have been a negative impact overall, though, I think, on what movies.
But I think what I'm hitting at here is that the success of any given movie was not guaranteed, and so every one of them needed to be good enough to stand on their own merits. When you have now all of a sudden these kind of cinematic universes, if you get one flop, doesn't matter. You've got 3-4 more in the can already that you're going to wait to come out with.
And those are already going to make money, too.
Right, and so there's just this predetermined, pre-built-in box office that was not there for these movies quite in the past, and so they had to be if not good, at least be compelling enough to get people to come out and get butts in seats.
Yeah.
Now it's also prepackaged, predetermined.
Well, and I don't want to bemoan streaming either, but that's what it's become about too. Is that there's more ways to see movies now, because a lot of people, obviously this was a problem in the 50s, like it goes back this far. But people like when TV was invented, it's like, oh well, people won't go to the movies anymore because you can watch stuff on TV. But I think it became very quickly apparent to people who watch stuff on TV that it wasn't as good as the movies, and it never has been, and still won't be, by the way. And there's people who that's just assumed now TV's better than movies. I don't know when that happened or who came up with that idea. It's a novel one for sure.
Now, if we're putting Painting with John up against Cruella,
well, yeah, no, there can be TV that is better than movies. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that TV inherently is better than movies, and movies are our major art form.
Well, what does it say
America?
that TV so often the greatest TV or best TV? Oh, it's cinematic.
Right.
Who describes film as it's very televisual.
Right.
In a good way.
People
say that in a bad way now,
right.
talking about the Marvel movies or like these shared universes or whatever.
And when people would say something like that, what they would say is novelistic, is what they would say. They wouldn't say that. So that's what I'm saying is that, it used to be that people were, worried about that kind of thing, that TV would take, I'm talking about, like I said, in the 50s and 60s. But that never happened, really, because people still realized, the movies are better. And I still think that was even true up through that period of time until we've had our golden age of TV since, The Sopranos onward. And there's been a lot of great TV, and The Sopranos is the best TV show of all time, pretty much. So it's I'm not complaining about that. I was going to say,
what about this particular moment in 2002 when this would have come out, or even in 2003 when the Pirates movies come out? If we were who we are now, which is hard to do, let's just put this thought experiment. Yeah. It's there's this new Pirates of the Caribbean movie out, and you don't really have time to see it other than, say, Sunday night because you got a busy weekend when The Sopranos is on. What are you going to do?
Well,
you're going to stay home and watch The Sopranos,
probably. More likely, yeah. If I'm a Sopranos fan.
Right. It depends on what you're into. But that Pirates movie was, of course, really great. I mean, you know what I mean? And as we said, was the game-changing movie for a lot of people of a certain generation.
Yeah, and ultimately all this comes down to the fact that the internet and
is poison?
Streaming, well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, but that the ability to see things more. And with that, also, there's a lot of good things with that. I mean, how many movies have we seen in our life on streaming that we wouldn't have been able to see? Now, by the way, we also have seen a lot of movies via Netflix DVD. That's ultimately our biggest thing. That's most invaluable tool of viewership. But that, I mean, there's a lot of good things about it. But also, as far as that goes, but also, we've said this before. We haven't seen One Night in Miami still. We haven't seen Sound of Metal. You know why? Because they're sitting on Amazon, and that goes.
Then again, if they came out in the theater around us, and it was and the clock was ticking, you have a week to see this, we would have seen it.
Yeah, and we even are able to go see movies now because things are opened up more. So it's not we weren't able to see.
While I'm saying this, we've talked about. Recently we talked about seeing Top Gun in theaters, a re-release of that. Mm-hmm. And then also Nomadland. I just last night saw
Promising Young Woman we saw too.
Too. A Quiet Place Part 2 I saw. Mm-hmm. And let me just say, I think that first one was good. I think this other one was slightly better, the second one. It was, actually a joy. I'll say this, last night to just be, I saw it in the Dolby screen in the AMC in Hickory. And it was the most people I've seen in a theater in over a year, because the ones we've been to have been very scattered people there. This had the most people that were there, and it was like a horror movie, sci-fi movie, and the sound design of those movies are probably the best thing about them. Are so particular, and any little thing will just set people off, and you could hear people kind of screaming and laughing, and it it's not the best movie in the world necessarily. It was good, but it really kind of made me feel slightly optimistic about the future of movies. That people are coming back to
and
this,
that movies like that are even still being made,
right?
Because that's not the best movie in the world or anything, but even a basic horror movie can still be made, and we're not, and a lot of those, that's a very annoying thing that everybody goes to see the horror movies all the time. Because I'll say, I've seen some really great horror movies like Mother or It Comes at Night that people walked away pissed off. Yeah. I said they were mad. Yeah. But that's, I mean, and obviously we say buy the ticket, take the ride. Now, those movies are also great, so I don't care what people think about them. But movies like that, even a movie like Mother, the fact that that was even still made at even the time it was in, what is that, 2017? 2018?
Yeah, 17.
No, 17, that's right. Couldn't remember. The fact that movie was even still made then gives me hope. Now, obviously, like I said, and like you're saying is a version of this. Now, obviously, we're through a looking glass here. I don't know what the future of movies are at all. It's not looking very good, but like you said, I think more what you're talking about though is the fact that people are coming back. People want to be there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that come out for that Top Gun movie.
Yeah, there were a decent amount.
This is in Hickory, North Carolina. This isn't like
for a 35-year-old movie.
Right. This isn't a major city, you know.
Yeah.
So the fact that people are still coming out, I mean, is good. So I'm glad to hear that.
And to that point, though, as far as the future, Jungle Cruise, that comes out in a month and a half. That is, of course, based on a theme park ride, Jungle Cruise. I don't think I've rode that actually before. What did you think of the trailer for that, and maybe how it fits into this kind of theme park ride movie phenomenon?
It's interesting because obviously it doesn't look like a movie that should be being made right now, in theory.
How's that?
Well, just like we said, it's doing that.
Oh.
It's doing the theme park. It's not a big thing, you know. That's obviously a movie they probably had. I wouldn't be surprised. They probably had that movie in the works for 20 years. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's been developed for a while.
And like that. But I think why something like that will work is that it has the stars that it does of The Rock. And those movies, I should say, another reason maybe this movie's finally getting made is those Jumanji movies, I think, have been pretty popular, and he's in those. So I don't know if it's a Rock thing or what, you know.
They just say, as far as these earlier versions, said it was in development as 2004, as early as that.
Yeah.
Which is nearly 20 years ago. Said originally, in the February 2011 iteration, it was announced that Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, who of course were in the Toy Story movies together, voices, would be in that. And then it went through all these various things. Patty Jenkins was at one point involved in it. But again, speaking of like movie stars, Dwayne Johnson, Emily Blunt, bang.
Well, that's what I'm going to say is that...
I think Emily Blunt, I was thinking about this last night watching her in Quiet Place too. I think she's suddenly been one of the best new movie stars of the last 10 years.
You know, like Sicario and all kinds of
and I didn't even see the Mary Poppins movie. But it looked like she really filled that role and could sing, and she's been good in these Quiet Place movies. So she's suddenly been among the better film presences. And then even Woman on the Train, which is kind of a joke of a movie, but she's quite good in, I thought, you know.
Well, that's what I was going to say too, is I think when I hear those two names and you hear Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, no offense to Tom Hanks, all offense to Tim Allen, they're the most white bread people.
Well, that's the 2011 version.
That's
of that
what I'm saying.
made,
is like, but now it's like, that you'd see somebody like The Rock and Emily Blunt as the Jungle Cruise leads.
Right.
That I think shows progress and is like, okay, that's actually something I would want. I would way rather see something.
Speaking
like
of The
that,
Rock, well, for one thing, we haven't even seen these Jumanji movies, but I was actually thinking of those in terms of these theme park-esque movies, and that's in of itself, of course, the original movie's an adaptation of the board game. And then was made into the Robin Williams movie many years ago. And then these new movies are like
video game
readaptations of the board game, whatever you want to say. Yeah, but
they're
they're through
games,
a board or video game context. Yeah, and I was thinking about those as well as terms of these, like, it's all about this ride, this adventure. And I think it's easy to get real cynical about those type of movies, but I find those movies to be far less insidious than these like multi-part sagas of what the Avengers movies are even trying to be, because there is sometimes going to be merchandisable things about these, but it doesn't seem nearly as bad as the Marvel movies are.
And those would have been on a Hardy's Cup at one point, but they're not anymore. Well, even these big movies would have been on a Hardy's Cup, but that's the way we think about these things. Was it on a Hardy's Cup?
Country's Bears might have been on a Hardy's
Dunkirk had a Hardy's.
And they tried to get Hardy's tried to get away with the Spielbergers thing too. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, and I also remember that they kind of did some of that with specifically Dawn of the
Carl's
Planet of the
Juniors for other listeners.
By the way,
you don't know. Hardy's around here,
right?
Yeah, but Planet of the Apes
and Planet of the Apes they did that with too.
How strange is it? Something like again, like specifically Planet of the Apes, like obviously it's got this action adventure sci-fi thing, but it's really about like really big class, racial, nationalistic, economic ideas, and it's on a Hardy's Cup.
Yeah, right.
Like,
and that's what it was originally intended to be, and then you get something like the sequels, which made no sense, and
Anyways, all this to say, I think Jungle Cruise actually looks like a lot of fun.
Right.
I don't expect a lot out of it. But looking at the cast, I think Paul Giamatti's in it as well.
Oh, really?
Certainly, Jesse Plemons is supposed to be going real big as like a German villain in the movie.
Yeah, all this is just, I think what we're all getting at here, ultimately, if you've been following along this long, an hour and 8 minutes into this, and we haven't even really obviously haven't gotten to the movie yet. I think what it all we're saying is that the state of movies now, I think, makes this state of movies look a whole lot better as far as just what was being made. It was more creative in its sense of like, let's take, I mean, even the Country Bears of this basic stupid movie, it's saying like, let's take the Country Bear Jamboree and let's try to make a movie out of that. Let's try to make a motion picture. Did it succeed? No. But something like Pirates of the Caribbean did. I would assume Mission to Mars did, even in its basic sense of it's a Brian De Palma doing a space adventure movie. Sure, whatever, Even the Haunted Mansion would be like, it's a basic ghost story
Which,
thing.
by the way, there's been another version of that in the works for years and years and years of Guillermo del Toro, among many other projects.
Oh,
He's
really?
doing that, and Ryan Gosling was going to star in that, maybe.
Oh, God.
But but literally, Guillermo del Toro has so many announced projects that it's almost a joke at this point, like which ones he'll actually do.
Yeah.
Like, I know his newest movie is a readaptation of Nightmare Alley, based on the book that that film noir was made out of.
He's making
40s.
that.
He's doing.
He's basically going to do a.
That's his next
He's
movie
basically
for
doing
sure.
Freaks, is what he's doing. That's what he wants
his
to
version
do.
of
Yeah,
that
because he's a big
thing.
fan of Freaks.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think that's what we're saying is that.
I got a question
go ahead.
though.
Yeah.
Was this part of the slippery slope though that got us to where we are now? Because we look at this and say, well, it was more creative back then, but is it like the easing of quote standards or the easing of quote like what is quote good cinema? That this was a part of that larger thing that got us to where we are now?
Yeah, I mean, probably. But I don't know. I mean, I don't want to lay all this on Marvel, although that's what it ultimately comes to, though, because they're the people with Disney and Marvel decided that they were going to make this big, let's do the big franchise thing, really big story, which is still, in my mind, really ambitious. Nobody had ever done that before on that level, right? I mean, that you'd had like, franchises before, like the Star Wars movies had been a thing, sort of, and but when nobody had taken a stable of superheroes and tried to, let's make a big, not a multiverse, but like a big universe of let's do this whole big story that all ultimately was leading to the Thanos end of the world, whatever, that whole, he snaps his fingers and everybody, whatever it's called, the gauntlet, what's it called? The Infinity Gauntlet, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
That's actually, even still, I'd say very ambitious and very admirable to do something like that. But what obviously happens is that changes the industry to a point where that's all anybody wants to do anymore. So that's where we're at. So I don't know that.
Well, we can't let the Country Bears be the martyr for all this.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's the reason it all happened.
I don't know that is the reason. I don't know. Now, it should be maybe Pirates is to blame for that. I don't know. If you're going to blame that more on one thing. But I don't know. They've been making franchises for a while, and sequels have been a thing since the friggin' Thin Man. I mean, or whatever. You know all
about the Universal movies.
Oh yeah, I mean they tried to do that with that, and it's dumb as hell. I mean, so
I think the difference is just that Disney now their specialty is the commodification of everything,
right?
Because it's only in recent years that they acquired Lucasfilm, that they acquired Marvel as a property,
right.
And that they're strip mining them for all they're worth. I'm no like Marvel comics aficionado. So I can't speak from a huge Marvel fan's perspective on what their take on everything is. I can speak as a Star Wars fan. I I don't know if they've, quote, ruined Star Wars, but they've certainly picked it for parts and led to its, in some ways, I'd say, creative demise. Now, I'm not going to put that all on Disney, because people were saying that about the Lucasfilm era of George Lucas and the prequels. I don't agree with that. Anyways, that conversation's been had for a while. Some people said Star Wars ruined with Return of the Jedi in 1983, so you can go back that far if you really want to. But Disney is all about strip mining something and kind of perpetuating it into forever, forever, forever. Again, the specifics of theme park movies I don't think's all that bad, but in terms of Disney's overall larger corporate strategy,
I think it's a Disney problem. Like you're saying, that's a Disney problem.
But again, now we got even, as far as these franchises and franchises within franchises, the Space Jam 2 trailer, where it's like taking every single conceivable thing involved in the Warner Brothers stable, where you see Beetlejuice, you see Droogs. Yeah. You just see like every manner of
not the crews, but the Droogs of A Clockwork
just like
Orange.
any of these little things of like, ooh, recognition. I mean, that's
like the
that's
Simpsons
the cancer.
as a movie.
Yeah, it's like the cancer of IP-ification, that everything has to be connected to this.
Right.
It's like, well, again, something like Jungle Cruise looks like, well, it's taking this quote ride at a theme park and saying, well, let's do a version of, and it's not going to be as good, so don't get this twisted of what I'm saying, but let's do a version of the African Queen again.
Right.
Where Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, I can't believe I'm saying this, takes on the mantle of Humphrey Bogart.
No, that is what it is.
And Emily Blunt as Katharine Hepburn's a lot more comfortable of an analogy to make, but like that, let's do that type of movie again. Now, there's going to be some younger of generations. Now, I'm not even going to totally blame this for them that think, oh, this is a new thing. Wow, this is but it's like, well, no, it's taking these older archetypes and adapting them for new things. So, again, we've been very critical of a lot of the things in modern movies. I would say of all random specific things, the theme park movie, not as bad as we would maybe the critics would lead us to believe.
No, and I get it at the time. Well, you take it at its base level, and I understand why people would be like, oh my God, that's the most capitalist thing ever, that they're literally taking a theme park ride and making it into a movie. But, I mean, I don't know. That's what... Charles Manson once said it. Hollywood's been Hollywood. Anybody that knows the garbage cans in the alley knows Hollywood.
I mean, where this was all headed, you could go all the way back to the 50s when Disneyland was open.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, when you had a mogul who ran a studio, I'm also making a theme park, this was inevitable.
Yeah.
These two worlds were going to collide, and so I'm not saying it's necessarily a good thing, but I'm just saying that's, of course, how the business is going to work, where any chance you have to kind of bring industries together, commodify them that way, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So this goes all the way back to Disney of the 50s of, oh, I'm going to make a theme park now. And what a big deal that was. It's like if Jack Warner had said, oh, we're going to make a theme park based out of the Warner Brothers properties or whatever.
Yeah.
They would have been ahead of the curve in that regard, but it was Disney who did it first, so... here we are.
And this isn't the cleanest segue, but kind of what we've been talking about. Now they're making a Cruella movie, which I guess just came out like today.
And this is a whole other thing that Disney's preoccupied with. This is I'd say far more insidious.
Yeah.
Just straight up remaking or live action remakes and or prequels of their animated movies. We got Maleficent, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. What else?
They did do Aladdin, didn't they?
We didn't see it. I know, no. But we love that original animated movie, and
Street Rat. But no. No, I mean, Lion King, Jungle Book. I actually thought the Jungle Book was kind of good. That's one of the few ones of these I've seen. Yeah, but what's
Cinderella was all right.
What's interesting? One thing I want to say about that though, you put Maleficent and Cruella in there with those, which I think's fine, because that's what it's doing. But that's a little bit different too, where it's taken, but let's do the villain side of the story.
Well, that's a version of which we haven't read or seen any version of it, but Wicked.
Yeah.
Of like, the Witch of the West. What's her point of view on the whole thing? And so that, I feel like that probably can be traced back, that creative impulse probably back to that or earlier.
Right.
And so obviously Cruella's and we love Emma Stone. I do anyways.
Or even, this is really going out there, but even so far back as that book Grendel, that was about Grendel of Beowulf, which was a novel or whatever. I mean, who was it that wrote that? John something. Gardner, I think. Let me look that up. Anyway, yeah, so that's been around for a while.
The whole
Yeah,
idea
John
was
Gardner.
tell it from the
Right. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, and I
and
get
then
that.
Joker is a recent version
That's
of that
what I'm saying.
for
So
DC
Cruella
Comics.
is doing, even though Maleficent already existed. This is everybody's been joking that this is doing the Joker thing. I'm not gonna see it. I don't care about it.
No.
I don't know it. I don't know what
Like
it
I
does.
said, I quite like Emma Stone,
Yeah.
but this is one I'm going to skip because
Her and Emma Thompson are making their money.
I love
whatever.
her too. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
I could care less. I'm not even mad at them. I'm just like, I'm not even disappointed either. I'm like, go ahead and make your money. You know.
The stars today, I get mad at them a lot because I think they should have higher standards. But also, if this is what all they're given,
Yeah.
you know,
No, I mean,
What
the
do we
movies
expect?
aren't being made.
yeah.
I mean, yeah. So yeah. What
South Country Bears
ultimate? Well, we'll end it here,
Yeah.
I guess, before we do one
special
little thing,
special presentation.
special added,
Yeah.
special feature
Yeah.
to this podcast before we get to the movie itself. The question of why are we doing this? Other than tackling what a big question that is that I don't really know the answer to. I think one reason I'm liking doing it is a movie we haven't seen in a very long time, and we're kind of re-seeing it. We kind of did that with Snow Day, but even that movie has stayed with me more than this movie has. So it'll really be like rediscovery in a way that's very rare.
Now, I mean, and again,
but
this is a generation we grew up with these movies, and so we have a certain nostalgia or fondness for them, even though, of course, they're bad.
yeah,
And some generations have problems saying the movies they grew up with were bad. A lot of generations at this point have grown up with the Goonies. I don't know if I'd necessarily say the Goonies are
No, it's not
bad,
bad,
but it's not good.
but they're good enough.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
But I mean,
the
some
Cyndi
people
Lauper
think
film.
it's a genuine classic, though.
Oh
you
no,
know?
yeah. I mean, I saw it a couple, and I used to defend it to you a little bit more. I mean, it's not, and you're not saying it's bad. It's just kind of a whatever movie. But I'd seen it. No,
But when you say
they're
that
good-
compared to people who think it's the
I
greatest
know.
thing ever, it's like you're saying it's trash.
Yeah, I know. And but I had seen it here a couple years ago, and I was watching. I was like, oh yeah, this isn't as good as I remembered. It was just kind of like whatever. But yeah, I mean, you watch movies like that all the time. That happens. I mean, like we watched The Mask.
That
years
that
ago.
was a
Yeah.
shock to me. Because I really quite liked that growing up, and we rewatched it, like you said, a few years ago, and I was like, ooh, this is not good.
Whoa.
And it's
Like,
really
yeah.
flopped.
Oh yeah.
And that was one of my foundational childhood movies growing up, and thankfully, Dumb and Dumber holds up. Dumb and
Yeah.
Dumber's still hilarious in terms of if you're talking about Jim
Right.
Carrey. Now, as far as that goes, I didn't see Ace Ventura as much as other people. I did see that a few times. I know a lot of people that's childhood classic, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So that's the nature of children's entertainment. Is
Yeah.
that and we're going to see this with this. It's it's going for the lowest hanging fruit, the least common denominator, the thing that's going to make a kid laugh, farts, slipping on banana peels,
Although it
goofy faces.
said that in one of the reviews that somebody said that they were watching the kids in the theater, and that the one thing they really thought was funny was the armpit scene at the end.
Yeah.
They didn't laugh and didn't care about the bears at
well, that's
all.
its own problem.
No, that's what I'm saying. So did it work? No,
Yeah.
I guess. But and like I said, I mean, there's a lot of people that I was just talking to a good friend of mine today. I went to lunch with, and he was saying how much he really used to watch this movie and liked it. And he's like, yeah, of course now it's trash, whatever. But he was laughing. He thought it was hilarious that we're doing this.
Yeah.
So there you go. But
also, we just wanted as a change of pace. We've been
Yeah.
tackling some heavy movies, and we love
Yeah.
heavy movies, but something a little different, something a little lighter.
I just keep looking at this poster. Literally, that
It
looks
looks like it's going for like a Beatles-esque, like
yeah, and it's like that looks
thing.
like Chewbacca.
Yeah.
That one looks like a dog. That one just looks like a bear, and then this one, it looks
like a
Tommy Chong,
yeah,
but like
from
a
70s
bear.
show, yeah.
I like so. Anyway,
Well, there's another thing too. We're going to walk through this. Are these songs really quote country music in a hardcore sense?
I don't
mean,
remember enough about them. I'm gonna let you know that as we
Yeah.
go. I'll kind of have.
'cause I think they're
kind of
like
they're just pop songs,
kind of like 70s rockish, which already had
right?
a country-ish aesthetic sometimes. But
The pastoral aesthetic.
yeah. But anyways, we though thought before we get to this movie, we thought we were actually going to One of my favorite pastimes, actually, is to go through and watch old VHS. This is so random.
Yeah.
Old VHS intros, because these are just things that are total great documents to the era in which these things came out and are kind of lost to time. I even wrote a blog about this some years ago, kind of me going through some of these and what they have to tell us and what they have to sell us, most importantly. Because as a kid, you're not really thinking about any of this. You're just kind of watching it and having fun while you're doing it. Right. So we thought we would actually give you a live commentary on right here, the Country Bears, from the Country Bears VHS from 2002.
We're actually going to watch it on YouTube if you can find it that way. It's called Opening to the Country Bears 2002 VHS.
I'll put a link to this.
From the previews is back to is the channel. So it was put up January.
So some heroes went on and various people have uploaded VHS intros.
And I feel like we might in the future do these with certain movies.
There's two movies from now that
probably
we might
do. But because that's the one I always think of is that one, but we'll talk about that one later.
And there's even a conversation to be had about the movie 2 episodes from now that relates even to some of these conversations about theme park ride movies.
So, Anyway,
all right, so here we go.
It's about 9 minutes long, so if you can sit through that,
and
you
then
can get through the Country Bears.
Yeah, and then we're going to show you the trailer and then get to the movie.
So I'm going to press the space bar here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Now, remember the days of 2002? This was the later years of VHS.
Yeah, because a lot of people think that somebody my age wouldn't have even used a VHS. I actually used VHSs a lot.
Yeah.
And I really knew how to work them too. I mean, that was just what you had.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was early 03 when late 02 when I got a PS2, which is a big deal because it's like a DVD player.
Yeah,
so I started getting a lot more DVDs in 2003.
I think this is for the
Haunted Mansion.
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I saw that in theaters years ago. I really don't remember much about it.
I haven't seen it.
This was in the later bad stage of Eddie Murphy's career.
Yeah.
Where he was doing anything for money.
You mean his whole career? I'm not really a big Eddie Murphy fan, but...
It had to be 999 ghosts.
Yeah, I don't know why there'd be that many.
Just because.
By the way, don't you love this is like going for like a southern gothic vibe with the tree looks like it's from the south. Like, I don't know.
But like I said, apparently Guillermo del Toro might do another version of this with Ryan Gosling in it. But I mean, Dead Man's Bones, he's into ghostly stuff. So
yeah, that makes sense. He's
video
gonna do that
and
werewolf
DVD
movie too.
Video and DVD.
Right.
So if you don't got the DVD,
well, they had DVDs at this time. But
I mean, late '90s. Those.
So I haven't ever seen any of these.
Really?
No. Oh well, no. I have seen the third one because we watched that
Game
in a
Over.
Spanish class one time.
Sliced along.
Yeah. But no, obviously Robert Rodriguez.
These movies were a big deal when they came out. These are some other ones that have just kind of disappeared.
Yeah. Well, then they kind of had those Shark Boy and Lava Girl movies, which were kind of even. Were those connect? I felt like those were kind of connected.
I don't think they officially were.
But,
they look like they easily could have been,
right.
though, and Rodriguez was behind those.
That's what I'm saying. Is it's like it's going for that aesthetic. It's not
I will
that they
say
are connected,
these movies are kind of lame and dopey, and the CGI. I'm not somebody who really complains about bad CGI. Some of the effects just look bad, but I always have admired that he put Latino kids as the main characters of these movies. And Latino, and I know that. That had to mean a lot to Latino kids. Wow, people
I think
look like me.
Yeah, like you said, these movies actually represent a lot more than what they're worth.
And especially these ostensibly spy movies that could have white leads, that could have black leads. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Why not have Latino kid leads? Right. That's different. Oh, by the way, earlier Steve Buscemi, did you see him?
Yeah,
he's
he's
like
in this. Yeah,
scientist guy.
This joke.
Your mother.
Your mother.
Now, this was the one where I think George Clooney cameoed as like the president.
Oh, really?
Or some CIA guy or something. But for most of the movie, his eyes were covered.
Right.
And he like takes them off like their glasses towards the end and reveals it's him. But those movies were okay, decent enough for kids' entertainment. I remember the McDonald's toys more than anything.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Yeah, but I haven't seen
all audiences.
I did, like I said, I did see the third one, so here we are.
Now, one thing I wanted to mention is all the sequels on this, and a lot of them are direct to video, not the Spy Kids one.
Yeah,
but
because
for
this
all
is
these
a direct to video sequel. There's another one coming up later for Beauty and the Beast.
George of the Jungle 2.
Yeah, right.
I love that it's like, oh, we're going to take one specific one, Patch, and make him a character.
Right. Yeah, because Hunter Harris was writing on her Substack blog,
which
is
you
really
should
great.
subscribe to,
yes,
by the way. Love her.
Hung up. She was writing I read it today, this really funny thing about questions about the dogs. And it's like, do they all have their own Instagram account? Like, do they? It's like all these different things. There's really funny questions like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this just looks.
We did hear that, like, in the new Cruella, her parents were like killed by Dalmatians or something.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
I can't believe they got that to the screen. That's so stupid. Well, actually, I can believe it. Now I think about it. Now
I would love if they slipped in an R-rated trailer.
Yeah.
Here.
Now one of these coming up. I think it's this one. Yeah. We used to watch this a lot. Now this was a direct-to-video as well. One of the funniest random stupid movies ever. I think is just like.
Did you see the first one?
No, I did, but I saw this one way more.
Yeah, I did too.
And of course, French Stewart is in this one.
He's a great guy to play Inspector Gadget, as dumb as it all is.
He's really pretty good on what I've seen.
Did you ever watch
see
any of the original Inspector Gadget show?
No.
I saw some reruns of that back in the 90s, but
yeah, we did watch this movie a lot too.
Yeah.
This could be a movie we do one of these days.
This is such like a early 2000s thing in terms of, like, you know, in Terminator 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's like, the bad. Or, well, she's like kind of the antagonist of sorts, even though they end up teaming up. But
this
like
moment where he's making
a woman.
That's right.
Terminator.
Yeah, this movie wasn't good, but it's funny, kind of. I mean, it had the chocolate milk.
Premieres on Disney DVD
yeah,
and
right.
video.
It's like, it's not good enough to get in there, in the theaters. That movie. No, I don't think about it that much anymore.
I don't really either. I saw this 2 years ago. Yeah, I feel like we had a VHS of it, actually. What I don't understand is the first time ever on Disney. Oh, DVD. I guess it was already on video.
Oh, okay. By the way, I want to say something about this. So this whole story is apparently about the teapot is feeling kind of sad. Let's do this whole big party for her. It's like, okay, I don't know. I like that first one enough. You know, that it's fine, but I don't get it.
But it's kind of like gothic and kind of scary at points. You can tell this is just totally like, just
and like, obviously like, we recently watched the Jean Cocteau version from the 40s, which is like way more weird, and that's a pretty interesting movie. I think it's good. But it's interesting to see so different types of versions of such a thing to be made. But
what could it be?
I don't remember these last few what they were. I had misremembered that the Pirates of the Caribbean teaser was on here.
Yeah. I do remember seeing that on some VHS. It dawned on me when I was rewatching this recently, just like that they didn't show any close-ups of him. It's like, Brendan Fraser's not
right. I was
back.
thinking that. Yeah.
I saw some other cast people were, but he's not Brendan Fraser, because that came out in the late 90s.
Right.
And I actually didn't know till I was looking about that George of the Jungle was like a TV cartoon.
I thought it was TV related
years and years ago.
Yeah,
I'd never heard of that. I had always kind of assumed that first movie was just out of nowhere. But
I don't know if they come up with all this out of the fact that they had made the Tarzan movie.
Yeah, I said it was basically like
legendary. It's not legendary. I mean, it's just been made. Like,
well, you see him like flipping.
Yeah,
you know how fat he is. There's no way he could just like flip like that.
I really want to talk about this. This is so weird. Do you remember? Does this ring a bell?
It actually
at all?
Doesn't.
Okay,
I don't think. I was
Brad
shocked
Paisley. There's one of the most. I guess
he's real young.
That guy at the beginning that did Chattahoochee, Alan Jackson. Yeah, I recognize him too. But
So go buy some country music.
American Country Countdown. Wow, this was like Shock 'em Y'all before Shock 'em Y'all era. It was like Unleashed era. Yeah, we're not going to be doing that on here, by the way.
Yeah. All right, feature presentation time.
We're going to run it all the way up to the end here, by the way, even though there's nothing.
It's been modified from its original version. It's been formatted to fit your TV.
It should be say this DVD is really old and it's like letterboxed on the sides. So
133.
You know, if I gave a crap, maybe I'd care. But
remember this growing up?
Yeah,
on everything. You know what's interesting that I've heard that the sound is literally a way to. The sound itself, literally, why it's as distinctive as it is to prime the audio, test out the audio levels, actually.
All right, we're about to see this here in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
So, preview.
So, yeah, we appreciate your indulgence on that.
Yeah.
We just wanted to kind of go take a trip down memory lane for a second with that. Anyway, any other thoughts before we dive into the Country Bears?
We got to watch the trailer now, too.
So we're going to take a brief break. You're going to hear the trailer for the Country Bears, and then we're going to see the Country Bears or hear them, however you want to do it. Yeah. Hopefully you're watching it along.
Yeah, hopefully you are. If your stomach can't handle it, then maybe just listen.
You know, we get it. If you ain't got the stones, then, you know, that's just the way it is.
Then get out. No, stay.
Hey, Beary, dinner's ready.
Beary Barrington was like any other boy.
Sometimes I feel different. Like Dex and me. We don't look the same. He has freckles, and I don't. I think.
He was loved by his parents.
Just remember, son, the people who love you no matter what, that's your family.
And sometimes his brother.
This is my baby picture, and this is yours.
Mom, am I adopted?
Of course not, honey.
Dexter!
I gotta face facts. I just don't fit in.
He's run away from home. You knew you were gonna have to release him into the wild one day.
Now Barry's about to discover his destiny.
The Country Bears!
With 4 guys who are barely a band.
I belong here.
Welcome aboard, kid.
You're one of us now.
Well, are you going to find him?
Does he have any distinguishing marks?
Yeah, he's got thick brown hair. All over his body. You
guys, they're right behind us.
How about a little thing I call hiding in the car wash? So how does that work? We hide in the car wash. Where'd they go?
Oh, man. Your hair looks ridiculous. My hair.
From Walt Disney Pictures. One boy is searching for what he's been missing.
You're gonna do the show?
Not without you.
And discovering what he's had all along.
Who's that little bear?
Oh, that's no little bear. That's my brother. Yeah!
Disney's The Country Bears.
Yeah.
And here we are. We're back. Any thoughts on the trailer?
Well, obviously Christopher Walken wasn't in it.
No, and he's the villain.
Yeah, right.
You know.
So I guess what does that say about that? I wonder.
Well, you would think they'd at least throw him in as like, oh, older parent or grandparent. That guy you remember. Remember that whole scene where he was like playing Russian roulette?
Which is one of the most emotionally violent scenes in any movie I've ever seen. I mean, it's literally violent, but it's like emotional turmoil in that scene.
But now here he is.
But, here he is with his armpit.
And he's going to be destroying the house set to a Bob Dylan song.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
All
right,
so
rated G.
All ages admitted, nothing to say about it. It's G. I remember it being G. But I can't think of anything in here that would be bad, but we'll see.
But again,
maybe the Kick It in the Gear song, just by the fact of it, I don't know. Maybe some of that there would just be like, oh, I like it hot. Is like even barely a euphemism.
Right.
But even that's not that big of a deal. But
but it is. I will say it is weird to me that just MC Gainey in a G-rated thing.
That doesn't make sense.
That's weird.
Yeah, anyway.
Anyways, I special ordered this. Okay.
Yeah, we did it for y'all.
Yeah, we're doing this for our fans. Yeah, because we care about our fans. Just like the bare bones basic Disney.
It's
DVD.
Basically when they put out the VHS.
While we're talking, let me just say that some of the special features included. We might just watch this on our own.
Yeah.
Off mic. The Country Bears Out of the Woods mockumentary. Audio commentary with director Peter Hastings and special guests Ted and Zeb. So in character.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Music video Mix Master Jamboree. Country Bears Concert for America ABC special. Sing with the movie viewing option and the Crystal music video.
Okay.
Full screen. 133.1. French language track available for those who speak French.
So the French, yeah.
Yeah, oui. All right. So we're going to hit play on this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do you have a favorite Disney logo?
No.
I don't either.
Because I'm not that craven to even think of such a thing.
While we're talking about, what do you think of Disney adults? Like people who, make a big deal about wanting to go to Disney theme parks as adults.
Oh, they're freaks. There's been
that
guy.
We might know a few. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, well, there was. By the way, listen to this music. It sounds like 20% Neil Young or something.
It's like where they were.
The Hibernation tour.
They used to be at the height of their career.
Well, like hibernate. What is Daydream Nation? What are you talking about? Like, what is this, Sonic Youth? Like, please. Yeah, it was kind of in the news here a while back. There was that one real weird looking guy whose eye was like over here. Like, you remember that was like, Disney is not being the way I want it to be. And
he was saying they're like too woke.
Right, and it was just like, you were literally a serial killer, that guy. Like, yeah. And by the way, if you're listening, that guy, I don't feel bad about talking bad about you. So
Ted Betterhead, is that his name?
Yeah.
Going to 12, not 11. So it's on reference to Spinal Tap.
Yeah, that was another thing people kind of talked about, this being kind of like Spinal Tap. But the big difference is this isn't good, so... By the way, this kind of reminds me of like the Grateful Dead, sort of, rather than like pure country.
Yeah.
By the way, would they have that many people going to see them?
That's what I was just asking.
Yeah.
In my head is like, really? They had this rabid of a fan base? Him flipping.
How fake
what
that
the
look?
Hell? Like,
yeah. Yelling. Try something new. Sun on your face. You won't regret. The hole in your shoe. Buddy, just forget it.
Disney was going through a real bear
see,
space
I literally
here.
could see the wire on that. Yeah. Like,
you ever see Brother Bear?
Yes, I did.
Movie? I don't really remember that. I don't know if I did.
I went and saw it in theaters.
Classic crowd surfing.
By the way, in the trailer, it made that kind of a big moment where, he fell. It's like in the movie, Goofy, he got caught. Yeah. So... This is literally the most stock song ever, by the way.
Yeah. So they do have a human drummer.
Yeah.
I wonder how many drugs are being consumed at this venue at this point. Like, well, people won't.
Yeah, because this, by the way...
It's a Disney movie, though.
By the way, they're assuming that not only country music, but just rock aesthetic in general, too, is not an inherently adult thing. Yeah. It's like, no, they're gonna be drinking, they're gonna be drugging here, like, please, explosive bursts.
Not in the Disney version, though.
No. Especially if it's a Grateful Dead-esque thing.
Right.
I mean, that's part of the whole culture of that. I mean, most people...
most of it.
Most people...
That's what
I was going to say, is that most people only like the Grateful Dead because it's connected to the drug culture, so... He learned from them. Listen, when even somebody like Willie Nelson's having to learn from them, like...
So what's hilarious to me is that, like, he's very clearly a bear, but he doesn't, quote, know it. But then he's obsessed with them.
Right.
It's like, is there no self-awareness on his part that, they look like me? Like,
right. He's walking around like a human being.
Now, I said voiced by Haley Joel Osment, so I guess he was not in the outfit, presumably.
Tobolowsky.
Because they got like the bear hunting, you know,
yeah,
bear container. You're a friggin' bear.
Yeah, like he has freckles and I don't. It's probably because bears don't have freckles or other features that human beings have.
Now he's not this kid, but his brother reminds me of that one brother on Malcolm in the Middle.
That's what I was thinking.
But
I think is the hairstyle reminded me of that.
That was very that era hairstyle, as I remember.
What was he comparing that to?
Some crap about it. I don't know.
Yeah, like, oh, I went to this business meeting and I didn't have my pants on or something. Like, by the way, if you were paying attention, we weren't. So email us at huffmanbrothersproductions@gmail.com.
We've yet to get an email that wasn't from YouTube trying to suck our soul away.
Right,
so, you know.
Yeah, it would be nice to hear from
I haven't heard from them in a while, but...
Yeah. Oh, family.
He seems kind of bored with...
Yeah.
I don't want to be with y'all, though,
He
really.
becomes bored with his own question.
Yeah.
Oh, he got him, like, strumming a gentle tune, you know.
Totally wrecking this family. Was he playing the PS2, looks like?
This must be how you feel about my Julian Baker fandom. It's like, God, like, get over it. Except that it doesn't have anything to do with my, like, being a human being or not, you know?
No, Levi, I think it's time we told you that you're actually a walrus.
Yeah. That Julian Baker is actually a walrus, too, you know?
Yeah.
Sputtering. Picked you up.
Remember the Barney era? They even make new Barney stuff?
I think they probably do in some dark corner of the internet somewhere, but
makes it sound weird.
No, I mean I think they do, but I don't know.
I don't know.
They still make Sesame Street. I know that.
Well,
but
that'd been made since the late 70s. Yeah.
I don't know about Barney though.
A collar? Yeah. Or no, or is that a tambourine?
No, I think it was a collar.
Okay. Now there is going to be a Bob Dylan song later in this. Yeah. But Bob Dylan himself, I think, should have made an appearance. I mean, he's in Masked and Anonymous, so you know.
That's a movie we ought to do one of these days. That's a really weird movie. Remember we watched that just when COVID was starting, actually. Well, no, it was like just a few days before everything shut down.
Well, it had already started in terms of the shutdown, yeah.
Acoustic guitar playing up-tempo intro.
And, you know, he's just sitting there, like, on a bus with human beings.
How would they even have let him on is what I want to know. Like,
well, how's he even function in human society up to this point?
Right.
And nobody been like, yo.
I know this is all we're going to be talking about the whole time, but... He's like, this is pathetic, is what he's thinking. Wow. Wait, so the bus took him all the way there?
I guess so. I love, too, like, another movie would spend 20, 30 minutes doing this.
Yeah.
Or there in, like, what, a minute or two?
Well, good, because we need to get
there's
this
a lot
over
of plot to get through, a lot of
I
important
know.
developments, so. Jamboree, as we can see, is falling on hard times. It's not the Jamboree that you remember.
Yeah.
Country Bear Hall.
There he is.
Yep. Whoa, hey.
This is already so like, I'm evil. Like,
yeah, he's like Tex Richmond.
What if he just run him down immediately?
Chris Cooper and Muppets.
Yeah. Wait, all this movie's in 4 days? Are you kidding me?
Yes.
By the way, I was watching last night some reruns of Mountain Men because the new Mountain Men came on last night, and there was a whole big deal about like that Eustace, who lives right near here, by the way,
who our mom always calls useless,
right? But yeah, he lives in Boone.
Yeah.
So if y'all are listening, any of you Mountain Men fans out there, we live right near Eustace, not too far away.
Yeah.
But anyway, the whole storyline with him last season was that he needed to sell this rock crusher so that he could pay for a $5,000 payment on his land that was due in 24 hours. So, like, and I'll spoil it for you, the thing screwed up and caught on fire, and he couldn't pay it. So, and he was like, it was only one little bit of his land he had to sell, too. It was like some buffer zone. And he was like, this is my life, and was like freaking out.
Yeah.
I need to ask Dad because he watched it, I guess, what happened in the new season. But yeah, I was just like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Walken's obviously wanting to come and buy this place from them.
I don't think you need to explain it to him.
Yeah. But
if this needs to be explained to you, then I don't know.
As we said, pretty flagrant ripoff of Blues Brothers.
Even though, you know what the funny thing about that was, though? Is that even in that movie, they were being selfless in the sense of, we need to save our old orphanage.
Right.
Because the kids need to have it. It's not about them.
Right.
This is very much about...
literally nothing's going on here. There's no other people being helped other than that they're going to be homeless, I guess.
Right. And it's like, okay, I
but
get it.
But your bears go in the woods.
Right.
Oh, wait, there's your new home.
Yeah, it's just like, you know what I mean? I'm not trying to be like, screw this whole thing, even though, screw it, but... But anyway, I mean, it told us on the Wikipedia page what to expect from her. So
yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, I think that's what's the funny difference is that is at least a selfless act for somebody else, and they're pretty selfish people. So like, but like this is just the most selfish thing ever.
No, like I said, it's like, oh no, it's gone.
Oh no,
go live in the go live in the woods. Right. Oh, that's where a bear normally lives.
Right.
Like, hate to be like embarrassed or anything, but like,
I love also that this movie makes the cops to be villains because they're trying to go find him.
Yeah, well, also, I guess they are villains, I guess, but also just they're just dumb, goofy.
Yeah, and it's like, but they're like trying to. It's almost like the way that the cops were treated in like Last House on the Left. You remember that? How they were
Liver Lips McGraw.
Wow. Just think about the fact that Jimi Hendrix, who, drowned in a pool of his own vomit, like, has been mentioned in this movie, like...
Really, though? Were they the best?
What, the notes, or... Oh... What's funny is this only been 10 years removed from when they would have been.
Yeah. And he's like, 4 days from now, it's like, you didn't think about it a little sooner than where we're at now,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about that Eustace thing last night.
Right.
It's like why are you running this late up to time?
Well, there's always a certain dark comedy in any kind of reality show you watch where it's like somebody's back's against the wall about surviving or getting out of here. It's like, well, with survival shows, it's like, you could literally go with the camera people and leave.
Yeah.
Or like if you have somebody like Eustace who has like some financial thing hanging over, it's like, couldn't the network help pay that
also
real quicker?
He's worth millions of dollars, by the way.
So.
But also, no, that's what I told Daddy. I was like, so History Channel couldn't pony up and pay the land.
Well, it's all
for him?
about.
No, I know it's all fake. That's what I'm saying. But it's like, it's funny how they act like it's not.
Yeah.
You know, but, yeah.
I guess a lot of people really watch it and don't think that
Dumb
it is.
kid, stupid idea.
Oh, Al.
A good old Al. Now, that was Stephen Root, right? That's supposed to be?
Yeah.
It was Al? Well. Yeah, I guess that is him, but...
Oh, wait a minute. Was that somebody else? James Gammon is Big Al.
Oh, well, then who was Stephen Root? It was the
Zeb
fiddle
Zuber.
player. Well, we'll listen for him.
And
then.
again, he's the most naive, and naive is also hyperlinked.
Right. Yeah, so sorry.
So yeah, he's he looks like a bear. Here he is wearing a suit.
And they could tell he was in 4th grade for some reason.
I love the idea that they might want to take the picture with him because they might not remember what he looks like
Right.
in the event they run into a bear who wears clothes.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
I would have said, well, we're going to bring him back, too. Because you can just find somebody and then be
Yeah.
like, okay, and then leave. Like,
The ghosts of jamborees past, you know?
man, this is an ugly-looking movie, too.
Yeah, it don't look good. Yeah.
It's just that when this movie was made,
Right.
movies look like this, and it's just like, no.
Well, not only that, but these kids' movies had a certain
That's what I'm saying. It's
aesthetic.
not every movie look
Right.
like this, but...
I mean, this was, the era of, like, high Soderbergh, so,
Yeah. And I was thinking, yeah, Fincher was making movies that look good. I mean, so obviously, like, no, not everybody, but...
So the youth do get it and are with
Yeah.
it. My nose is kind of stuffy. I need to
Yeah, go ahead.
blow it out.
Yeah, I think we'll be good on this. Old Rhodey there.
So was he just like hanging out like
Yeah.
in that bus the whole time?
I mean, he looks homeless, so yeah.
I mean, but has anybody looked more like their name than MC Gainey?
Yeah,
Ever?
I don't
That's ever
think so,
existed?
yeah.
I mean, or that you gotta imagine what that bus had to smell like.
Not like marijuana or alcohol, because they didn't do it.
About bear crap everywhere.
Really take that image in.
Get them boys.
There's literally like a bear with a vest on, like saying, "Oh, you go get the band back together." Oh, got
Or
on
like
the
a little
grass.
belt.
Why would he even care about the grass at this point? They're not gonna have the dang,
So he can't hear either. Literally, he'll collapse. But it looks like it's sped up. I mean, obviously. It's like, you get the drill. We're not gonna waste time.
But what's stupid about this, among many things, is that they're going to do all this in 4 days, that they're going to find the people, get the show set up, get people to know about the show. Like, no.
See, Fred, he's kind of a good-looking bear. He's security guard.
No, Crystal,
You can tell that's Brad Garrett's voice.
Yeah. How big that is.
The Fred.
I mean, literally, like, if they're walking around, they have to be from the Country Bears.
Yeah.
It's like, how would that be misconstrued, you know?
Well, that's what I'm not getting about this world. Let's just let's just really take this in. So, there's obviously this really famous group known as the Country Bears, who are this anthropomorphic group of bears who wore clothes, played music, talked. Are they the only bears in this world that are like that? Because then you have Beary, who isn't a part of that band, but is wanting to meet them.
Yeah.
I'm really just have a lot of questions. If you have any fan theories, again, please reach out to Huffman Brothers Productions at gmail.com. Fill those in. Or fanfic, we love.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to send us some Country Bears fanfic, feel free.
By the way, if there's any of y'all coming to this like, what, y'all are saying Country Bears is bad? It is bad. So no, don't be coming here all disappointed, hat in hand crap with me. Like I'm not
like sweet bind.
No,
like,
we're not doing that here.
I'm just honestly laughing at the idea that anybody really think this is good. Somebody out there had to still think this. I'm sure.
But it's just like a kids movie. Like, yeah, well,
most kids movies are trash.
Yeah, I know. So it's like. So then why are you watching it? I don't know.
We don't know.
So, like, you know.
We just got to do something until the world turns to cosmic dust.
Yeah.
So. This is not a Country Bears song. You know what I mean? So this is the Crystal.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything from her?
No.
I don't think I have. Yeah, because this song was definitely calling for a harmonica to be involved.
So he was just a security guy, and then all this happened.
Yeah.
Bring it out.
It's like the cover of his Infinite Jest behind him.
Yeah. I wonder what Dave Foster Wallace would have thought of this movie.
Unfortunately, I don't think he would have seen it, but
yeah. See, now that was the moment where it happened.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty clear nobody was there.
Yeah.
So there was only one option of what could happen. Yeah.
Oh, that wasn't the shoot?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell was it then? Like,
it's just an impromptu.
Might be able to help you out with that, buddy. World famous, but Crystal didn't know who he was.
So, well, she did know him as the Fred after a point.
Right. Oh my God. Yeah, it's totally him, but like, wow.
Got this wig on. Looks like Phil Spector in terms of the way his hair
looks like the way our computer room used to look like in there. Like.
Yeah. It's just hilarious that, you know, growing up we would have seen this, not thought twice about who this guy is.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's Alex Rocco. It's like, wow. All the other things we've seen him in since.
Yeah, he literally had nothing going on. Yeah.
You got it, Henry.
Yeah, this is actually kind of funny. Yeah. Is that like I need you? Like,
I just love that he had like a platinum record in the background.
Yeah,
I guess he could just take with him.
Right.
Nutville. So it's like honey to them, alcohol. Like
I guess.
A little scrapbook.
I love that they don't recognize him, by the way. Like,
well, there was a lot of time, I guess, in between.
I know, but like, no.
But he knows them.
Right. Yeah, spoiler, this is Beanie Bonzwaggle. Not actually serious.
I do remember this. Over yonder, a monkey.
And he's all the way over there. Over yonder, a monkey. Yeah. Yeah, I do remember we used to laugh about that.
Does it ever say where this is supposed to be?
I don't think so.
Like, outskirts of Nashville?
It's probably supposed to be Tennessee, vaguely.
Yeah. Vaguely Tennessee.
Because it's supposed to be the Grand Ole Opry of the Country Bears.
It'd be funny if it said Tennessee, vaguely. Just like the swarming hive.
Wait, there's alcohol in this. Oh, it's honey, excuse me.
That's why it's G. So weird.
This makes no sense. And of course, they got away with that in Inspector Gadget 2 with the milk. Chocolate milk. Yeah, so.
Which I love how cartoonish in that. To look bad, he like literally puts on like an eye patch.
Yeah.
Like, Queen Latifah.
Oh, no, she says she wasn't a bear. Excuse me. So that's Stephen Root, yeah.
I think we used to have a McDonald's.
We did.
Yeah, Happy Meal
version of Zeb Zuber. So we had Stephen Root, and we didn't even know it. It's funny. This would have been just after he would have been in the blind guy in Oh Brother Where Art Thou. Mm-hmm. So.
I haven't even really stopped to listen if that's Haley Joel Osment's voice, if it's that recognizable. I don't know.
I don't think it is in particular.
I mean, I guess it does kind of sound like
Guy. Really?
A musical duel.
And I would be like, nah, I'd like the $500, please. Yeah. Like, I don't give a crap if he can play fiddle or not. What?
Ha ha ha.
Like, why would that mean anything
Fast
to you?
rockabilly
frankly?
intro.
Oh, that's the Stray Cat strut guy. So the Stray Cats is, I guess, going to be a thing on this podcast, you know?
I forgot about
So they came up with this song this quick.
Yeah.
Like, this is basically a certain version of the Devil Went Down to Georgia, too.
Yeah,
like,
it was like a rap battle, though.
Yeah.
But, like, on stage and country/rock musicians. It's weird. Golden nectar. I remember some kids in high school used to refer to Sundrop as the nectar. I mean, let's just say it.
You better call a cab. Like,
how lame is Beary just as a character as a kid? I mean, I don't know.
that jive.
Did it say if Stephen Root had
did he
singing
just,
voice?
So it all of a sudden is just tuned.
Yeah.
By the way, I think that's him. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, but
his Boardwalk character, by the way.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So
I'm saying he's on everything.
Sneak around and kill people,
I'm gonna have to acquire your life, like, you know. Like, they both play for crap, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, there's different fonts, by the way, for the subtitles.
It's very perplexing. I don't understand it. Should have went with the chiller at some point. You have a favorite font?
No.
Oh, here's the Hall of Fame scene coming up. I really like Perpetua.
So Bob Dylan. Isn't that this scene?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Bob Dylan, I think.
Has to be wearing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know where to begin. The Bob Dylan song being in this.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't even know where to begin with this scene.
Yeah.
That he's got those like slippers on. That he's got all these versions of this.
That he has this hanging above his desk at any given time.
Oh no!
To crush these.
Plus, that's not how that would happen in real life, but... Oh, no!
I mean, naturally, the first place they should start is where the other anthropomorphic bears hang out, you know, so it makes sense.
By the way, somebody got their head stuck in the fence at a clubhouse somewhere. Like that.
Wow. That's especially kind of stupid.
Wow. This is about the dumbest character in anything. I love he just totally sold his friends out too, by the way, and just totally ratted on them like a freak.
Like his relationship to the grass in this is Mr. Chicken there.
By the way, we still have a little over an hour, or a little less than an hour. So,
well, I'll say this: the movie's not that long, I guess.
Yeah.
Which how could it be? But chuckling.
My dad.
I left a family that totally loved me for who I was, but I mean these other
except
freaks.
For the brother who easily would have come around in only a few days, probably. Literally, like Tennessee. Okay.
Big laugh.
The ugliest thing ever made.
This scene, the day it was shot. Just, like,
Drink that,
to be one of those other actors, are you thinking like, what led me to here?
Yeah.
Or this is a scene I'm doing in my life, like. But did he save their marriage? Maybe. We didn't get a follow up,
right?
So.
The follow up appointment.
Like, it's like on Maury, where they have follow up segments of like, well, what happened with this story? But we didn't get that. But we got a big scene coming up here.
Okay.
In what way? What gave it away?
I mean,
the fact that we're walking around as bears?
As bears, yeah. So now this is kind of country, sort of.
Yeah.
Partly.
I mean, like on a good day.
Blow the dust off that one, like.
So, what's there to say about this song?
It's terrible.
Well,
like
everybody's just gonna obviously all on board now. Everybody working.
Everybody knows the song too.
You had a guitar at the ready.
I mean, it's this era of country sounded kind of like this, but
but we say all the time, "Sunny side up," like,
because we're just insane, you know.
Yeah, we got to keep this legacy going.
By the way, they're saying "kick it in gear," not "kick it into gear."
Yeah.
Now there they did. Well, they wrote it. Like, what do you mean you
I
like
hope you
it?
kind of like it, yeah.
What? Like
the old women playing with the sax and trumpet.
The motor's gonna explode. And he's there. Like, love he's not sitting with them though.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I got to sit over here.
Because he's a human.
Yeah. These people are insane.
And they just like spontaneously moved all these tables around.
They're literally record scratching the stools.
Yeah.
Like.
We got these professional dancers who were just waiting at the ready, you know.
Yeah, real home cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Not really, because it's not.
Some people, this
home.
is their big break to be in it.
Yeah.
We got a shot glass, by the way.
Mm-hmm. That guy.
Old guy.
Like he was having a stroke. Like.
Yeah.
That guy was that into it. Like. This is all dangerous. Like.
Yeah. Just got to kick it in the gear. How do you like your eggs?
Well, hot would be nice. I wouldn't want a cold egg, dummy. Like,
not scrambled.
I like them over easy too. What? Like,
they had to throw the chicken under the bus, even though it's on the bus.
No, there they are over there. Oh well, they left. Like,
but that's the thing. I love how big these bears are, but we have reason to believe now and evidence that would point out that they're very quick, and fast. Like,
also, these would literally be the easiest people. Well, they're not people.
Yeah.
The easiest things to find in the world.
That old gag. Oh, had to give him a parting hug. That's nice. We give him a what?
Call him the breeze.
Yeah.
Like, call him the grease.
Well,
impromptu car chase.
Yeah.
Like. I mean, this is the second time that when did Con Air come out?
It was 97.
Okay, so this is the second time that MC Gainey has been at the helm as a Leonard Skinner song plays.
Good point. Yeah, 97.
What if he's probably a massive Leonard Skinner fan and has like made them use those songs? I bet that's what it is. And he's like slammed a sledgehammer on the table and been like, "You are gonna put these songs in my movies."
Kabish, yeah.
When he's driving something, that's the only time.
No, it was patented trick here.
Yeah.
I will say, like, you can tell he's having fun doing this.
Yeah.
This gives me a little bit of joy in a sick way.
Oh, wait, we went in a car wash. Car wash.
I mean, let me just say, like, every time I go through one of these traditional car washes like this,
yeah,
I think of this scene. I mean, so it's stuck with me.
Ooh.
Digging a ditch.
Why would they go in there? I would just go on the other side.
Side and wait, yeah.
That needed a good car wash.
It did. They're so stupid. They don't even understand that there's suds all over the windshield.
He's like, yeah, it's all right. It's police business. Like,
cheats.
They took his mustache off.
Yeah. I would like to hear this song used in a movie in a totally non-car wash context, you know. Like in a post-apocalyptic thing of somebody just playing old CDs, and that's just one of them.
Yeah, and it's like real serious.
Yeah. Hot wax. That'd be good. What's up with that look he was giving though?
Yeah.
It was just like, well, it's like that mission in Superman Shadow Apocalypse is so hard where you got to keep hitting X over and over again when you're in LexCorp and the industrial fan turns on and it like keeps pushing you back. Real heads know. 2002 heads know. Like,
I mean, 2002. Yeah. Wow. Well, at least it's clean. Wait, so there are other bears there?
There's one, right there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is this actually like in the far future where it's like a Planet of the Apes situation where the bears rose up, but then they came to some sort of a peaceful understanding with the humans that they can exist?
Yeah.
Somebody right now screaming,
meanwhile, their hair.
It's a stupid kids movie. Like, who cares? It's just meant to be dumb. Well, whatever. We here Overlapping Dialogue ask the tough questions. Okay.
Taking a ride.
Yeah.
You know,
books.
We've only got 2 days.
Yeah. And we're spending it losing the cops in a car wash.
And going to find Trixie. Higher purpose.
Yeah.
Getting a band that people don't really care that much about back together. Like, it's like you're saying you're curing cancer or something. Like, no.
Well, if he's just really hiding his guilt and shame of, I pushed Barry away, you know. I think this really, just spoke to that alienated generation of kids, this day and age, It's like, when you just wake up and you look in the mirror and you just say, I'm a bear, I'm not a human.
So long, country bears.
This is like a Yogi Bear ripoff, basically. Yeah.
What? Music crescendos. TV clicks off. Yeah. Indeed. It's better. I think it's better. I think it's better than the movie, actually, but
because it's over so quick.
Like they didn't know that.
Yeah.
They literally are right there. Like
they can't read, I guess.
Well, they are bears. Okay.
And it's just so weird to see like a feminine bear too.
Yeah.
They're just trying to. It's like got makeup on.
Yeah.
Like lipstick. It's disturbing.
Oh well, I am.
And this is our chance to say again, as you said earlier, all the puppeteers who did a really great job with this. These suits look really good for what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
But it goes back to...
In the band called the Country Bears.
I'm going to read you a little bit of Roger
Bears
Ebert's,
rock!
the last paragraph of his review as you read the first one earlier. As we hear this dreck. Real quick, I'll go through this. It's hard to figure out who the movie is intended for. In shape and purpose, it's like a G-rated version of This Is Spinal Tap, but will its wee target audience understand the joke? Anyone old enough to be interested in the music is unlikely to be interested in the bears, at least interested in the movie's routine and wheezy plot. True, the movie does a good job of integrating the bears into the action, the animatronics by Jim Henson's Creature Shop, and no doubt various CGI effects. Not to mention the strong possibility that in some shots we were basically watching actors in bear suits. It's done well, yes, but why? It's the question I ask as I see this duet moment, you know.
They're meant to be together. They're Don Henley, and Bonnie Raitt, Have a change that much, I can see you. Saw a deadhead sticker on a Cadillac. Like, voice inside my head said, "Don't look back. You can never look back." Anyway,
and all that jazz.
If you thought that my Don Henley impression was bad, it wasn't.
You were wrong.
If you thought it didn't sound good, maybe that's because of Don Henley. I don't know. Which I actually think he's all right, but I never really liked Glenn Fry. Yeah, there they were. Yeah,
so that's us.
Yeah. So never mind. The way that it described it, I was confused, but yeah, they were just over there like, oh yeah.
Now see, the type of musicians that should have been involved in this were like Jimmy Buffett. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like somebody just real
even
bargain
worse.
basement.
Yeah.
Like, but he was though in, of course,
Moondog, and an actual all right. I don't even know if performance is the word.
Actually.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
But they were looking for the Moondog. Yeah. I did see in some review that somebody was like, yeah. They are. Like, yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's the uppity one, you know. Yabba dabba doo.
But they still taking this long to get everybody. Mm-hmm. Like, God.
I know for some people it's like weird for them to see in movies payphones now. It's so quote dated. It's like the way the world worked for so long. I mean, with payphones, I mean, you don't really see any around anymore.
That's like people watching Boardwalk Empire and being like, "It's so dated." It's like, yeah, it's 100 years ago. Like, it's just like and I'm not acting like that was that long ago either when we had payphones, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
that was a thing that existed in history.
The world, believe it or not, the world existed before cell phones.
Yeah, well, I've heard a lot of people, even older people, talk down to younger people, and a lot of younger people don't know these things. They're like, "You don't know what a rotary phone looks like, do you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know what that looks like." They're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm not like an imbecile."
And it ain't even that. Oh, you're into history and know what they look like, but you growing up, we still had. Parents and grandparents had rotary phones.
I'm a human being that has a brain with awareness about
here's Sir Elton.
Life. Yeah. It's funny, I wouldn't have even known who this was when I watched this. So. Yeah. He's got a British accent. Why? As in this
context,
as in this, right. It's like, yeah, I did know that Elton John was British, by the way. He is Sir Elton, so.
So that's why I'm wondering, was he just hanging around the Disney set? And there's, by the way, just come on in and shoot
that guy looks like Elton John.
Yeah.
Like,
it's because he is.
So he just doesn't have the mustache now. Oh, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
I literally said that, and then...
Mm-hmm.
These characters are kind of funny, I will say, but maybe because they're all, I don't know, human beings, like, you know.
So, let me do the talking.
Well, he does, but I'm lying.
That's what they all say, you know.
Wasn't me, it was the chicken. Yeah, dummy. Shake your groove thing. Wow.
In the intro too.
Yeah.
Just the musical choices throughout this, just I don't even understand. Like,
I mean, there was a type of movie that was being made around this time, like this, and Play That Funky Music, White Boy being in the
Dennis the Menace
Strikes Again, where George Kennedy and Don Rickles were in a dance off.
Yeah.
There's just that type of movie that was made around this time that was using music like that.
Yeah.
You know,
that old pop songs.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, baby burn.
Now this song.
Yeah. You know, they could have had all this
Burn that mother down.
Had all this Charmin Ultra, you know, crossover. It's Charmin clean, you know, like. But...
Hello, brother.
Hello, brother, man.
You remember here a while back there was that thing of Hulk Hogan was like driving. They were like on a runway or something. He was like, and it was like looking like they might hit a plane. He was like, "Whoa, look out, brother!" Or whatever. It was like literally the most like Hulk Hogan thing ever. Like,
yeah. He's not a guy. He's a bear.
He's a bear child.
Like you
he's
you
a
were
cub.
once. Like. Just
Do they really
the downtime? By the way,
yes. Do they really need this guy too? It's like, can't they just say, "Oh, he couldn't make it"?
Yeah.
Like, friggin'
a selfish a-hole.
Friggin' 2 of Radiohead even showed up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Mark Knopfler didn't even show up when Dire Straits got put in.
So this would be a good chance to say, what's your takes on? I guess it's an individual, person-to-person basis, but what's your take on if somebody doesn't show up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction?
Well, they're
ceremony?
clearly uppity and full of crap. I mean, like, a lot of people talk bad about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I get it, but it's just like, I don't know. I think that's still a really big honor to be put into something like that. I mean, they're putting friggin', hip-hop acts in there now, which makes no sense to me because literally it's not anything about the music itself other than that it's literally not rock and roll. It is another genre of music. They should have a hip-hop Hall of Fame. And that would be something that would be more interesting, frankly, because it's more current. But, yeah, I mean, it's stupid, I get it. Nobody, this song. I get it. People think they're better than the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or whatever, but you're not. So, is there a Hip Hop Hall of Fame?
It says there is.
Why is it not bigger?
I don't know. Something to read about later, but doesn't look like it's nearly that big a deal.
But yeah, when you don't show up, you just look like a jerk.
Well, a lot of people show up and look like jerks as far as their speeches.
No, I mean,
and
Steve
stuff.
Miller, memorably was real, and I remember the Black Keys who inducted him after the fact said, yeah, he was a SOB to be around. We're disappointed in him. Big disappointment.
If you want to get a laugh, go look up Mike Love's when he went in for the Beach Boys, all the stuff he said or whatever.
Also, go look up what Trent Reznor said about it. And I guess the 9 Inch Nails technically got put in now, I guess.
Didn't show up,
but I don't know. Well, I know that was a whole weird thing about whether or not they even... I think that was like COVID messed it up. I don't know what happened there. I don't know.
I love it. Like Tobolowsky is helping them set up.
Well, by the way, Tony Scott, not the filmmaker, but the 95.7 The Ride DJ.
Yeah.
He got real mad. I remember you said I didn't hear it, but you said he was talking about when Martin Offer wasn't going to go in for Dire Straits. Now he's like, "This ain't about you. It's about the fans."
Yeah, he had this
or
whole
whatever.
little mini rant,
and he was like,
for 2-3 minutes, and he was going on about it's not about you. Like you said, it's about the fans and all this, and
he's kind of just like, anyway.
He's like, anyways, like,
yeah, but
it's funny.
You're not doing children's birthday parties.
I don't know if they should be allowed at children's birthday parties, but that's a whole other thing. Told ya.
Wait, so he's renting a room for Elton John?
Yeah.
Why would Elton John need to rent a room in his house over his garage?
Drinking honey, I guess.
Yeah. I'm surprised this did get a G for that, frankly, but... Okay there, honey bear. Like... And this movie's really bad. Yeah, really.
So, or is this the real downtime?
I think it is now, yeah. That's what we learned earlier.
Yeah. It's what your dad, who you walked out on.
But he ain't my dad. Like, well, you should have figured that out a long time ago, dummy. He's in the 4th grade.
Well,
I think
the real question he should be asking is like, who are his actual bear parents?
Right. He never actually even is asking that question.
Yeah.
And that's never even brought up.
Yeah.
It's like,
maybe they're going to explore that in the sequel, but
I don't think there's going to be a sequel to this.
No.
Look at him run. That gum.
Remember in the trailer it showed that shot like he was running to find them or whatever?
Yeah.
And like,
it's like he was running like a person in a bear suit. You know, like...
Imagine that.
Yeah. Kind of like bears as animals. Yeah. I mean, they're really violent, some of them.
But they can look cute, you know?
Yeah. Now, I've always thought bear cubs were the cutest thing. I always wanted one. It would grow up and kill me, though, you know, but...
I still want to see that Werner Herzog doc, Grizzly Man.
Yeah.
Have you seen that footage of him in that where apparently there was footage, or there was sound audio of the guy who it's really about, who got murdered by a bear, mauled by one, and there's footage just of him putting it over his head and listening to it, and he's like so disturbed he like orders it be destroyed because he says no one should have to hear this or whatever. Yeah. But you don't hear it at hear the audio. You only see Herzog reacting listening to it.
Anyway, yeah.
Anyways,
no, I've never heard about that though. Yeah.
Oh, he's got to be cool, you know, like.
I'm putting my shirt over my face, like.
Virtually, just know that's what happened.
Yeah. You looked at me and I just shook my head. Like... Hey, he left us a note.
My hero.
4th grade.
So we need to coin a new term here called like the upswing, when the downtime's reversed and we start to come back together, you know.
Thanks a lot, Sid Field.
Like the upswing in, say, Dumb and Dumber is when you see Jim Carrey coming back in on the moped.
Right.
It's like that moment.
Well, that's
you know
down. That movie has multiple down times.
At least,
yeah.
Yeah. But then also later on when they're in the hotel room and Charlie Rocket wouldn't want to be the next Charlie Rocket, by the way, would you?
Yeah. Charlie Rocket shoots him. Yeah.
Jeff Daniels, and the upswing on that is when he gets back up and shoots all the.
And he's like, "You're alive, and you're a terrible shot."
Anyways.
Yeah. Anyway.
This movie should have had a lot more Christopher Walken, by the way.
It doesn't have much. I mean,
I kinda,
that guy.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't in more of this. I don't know.
Probably he didn't want to be.
Probably because he didn't give a crap. Yeah. He probably got paid a lot of money, too. That they just reused that shot from earlier, by the way.
That photo.
Yeah.
They're all coming down. That Ted Bear, you mean?
Ted Betterhead? Yeah, me. Me. Let me get out. I'm not so cool anymore.
Yeah.
Like 9-inch nails. He's got the 9-inch nails.
I didn't notice that. But...
See, because he's got his own
Limp
stuff.
Biscuit.
Yeah.
Thrasher.
Yeah. Crash Bandicoot. I mean.
Oh, let me say somebody did the voice for that.
Yeah, one of these. Who knows? Wow. This movie's getting a really low star rating from me, by the way. I don't know what exactly, but it's going to be pretty low, so. I can't watch this.
This is secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah, like
nearly 20 years old, this movie. But he's not played an instrument the whole time, by the way, really. Well,
no, he was playing guitar.
Yeah, but I'm saying he hasn't like rehearsed with him, I guess. But yeah,
that's
what I meant. So he's like kidnapping him.
Well, he's got a gun?
Yeah.
Is
he
got
really? Blow darts almost, looks like, or like a dart gun.
The parents are helping.
Yeah.
Got to get him in there.
And them razor scooters.
Yeah. He looked like a total psycho when he did that. Don't forget, Alex Rocco's first film was Motorcycle. He hasn't been in this in a while, by the way.
I mean, does he show back up?
I would assume he would here in a little bit.
Yeah, I don't remember. So the big reveal's coming up.
Like, this is that big of a deal. Yeah. Sets gun on table. Yeah, like...
The 1812 Overture.
Yeah. Well, if he can still do it.
Mm-hmm. Probably practices all
Yeah.
every night. That's right.
Laughs maniacally. He's totally insane, by the way. I want to make that clear.
You know, can you imagine a alternate reality where Dennis Hopper was maybe that part? You know,
it's a la Speed. Like,
no, he should have been the dad. He should have been the Tobolowsky part.
Yeah,
like Barry's dad.
Like, Barry, we got to get you to the show.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, you know.
No, you know what they should have done? They should have hired like Tim McGraw and made a bunch of jokes how much he looks like Tim McGraw, but he's not, or whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
Oh well.
And then he reveals himself to be in secret Tim McGraw. He's like, oh, you had a country star at your house all along.
Open trench.
Was that in Europe in World War I? Like,
what? So the car and the boat are destroyed, basically.
Mm-hmm.
We're an American band, really? Like,
kids laughing.
Do you really think they'd make $20,000 off of this?
I don't know. Well, you know what's weird is, I mean, that's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but it's not all that much money to raise if you really got to, I guess.
Yeah. I just looked at Kyle and we laughed.
Yeah, just know we're exchanging looks. Grimaces, one could say.
That's Elton John, I guess. By the way, for people who obviously know that that's Elton John, like, and you're like, yeah, duh, like, yeah.
Duh. Father and Sons. Cover photo of that.
With the other pictures behind it, yeah.
We do this all the time, by the way, where it's like we see something, old cover photo, profile pic, that, like, shorthand. Did you really get in that much contact with anybody? I guess that's Rocco's job, though, right?
Yeah.
We sold them out.
Yeah.
Think about them two sharing the scene in this context.
Yeah.
But it's him. And then none of them saw any of these other people. Had it ready to go. It's all restored.
Then everybody was real quiet too.
Yeah.
This is the typical villain's plan foiled overture moment. God almighty. I'm so embarrassed for him in this moment. He's literally screaming at bears like,
"This is not over, bears."
He literally screamed, "I hate you, bears!" Ah, like.
For what though? Like,
I've had a hard time keeping up with which bears who. By the way,
I got no clue. Yeah. I know Zeb, Stephen Root, our boy, is the one with the hat.
Right.
Outside of that.
And the uppity one.
Yeah.
And the weird one that isn't in the band.
Right.
That walks around, the big fat one, yeah. Beary. I just can't get over that, like, Beary, bear. I know we've talked about it, but...
If you stuck around this song, you've heard us mention it. How many songs are going to play hypothetically in this concert? Like, what's their set? I mean, opening. I mean, like, did Mothers just open and they're just standing off to the side? Like, I mean,
yeah, we're going to be actually going to see Joanne Baker in September, and then we're going to see Genesis in November.
Did it say on the Julian Baker show who's opening for her?
And I can't remember who it was off the top of my head, but they're going to be great, whoever it is, I'm sure. But I don't know if anybody's opening for Genesis. I'm not really sure.
Well, I mean, Genesis was the first book of the Bible, so it makes sense nobody opened for them.
Yeah, that makes
God,
sense.
I guess.
Yeah. There's actually 2 openers for Baker, I think,
really?
Or something. Yeah, there's like a random amount. Tickets are still only like $20 a piece.
Pretty good.
And that's like
really good.
You know, the best music you can get these days. So no, don't come out here, Beyonce fans, and be like, because no.
Oh, there's the fan, the waitress. You know, she.
Oh yeah, well. And Degas is going to be touring too, but we've seen her already, so. Not that I wouldn't like to see her again, but, you know. There's basically going to be... I'm going to talk about this because I don't give a crap about all this. Yeah. There's going to be some shows where Baker and Degas are going to play together and special guests. It's probably going to be a Boy Genius reunion, more than likely.
So your fave of the group?
No.
Phoebe Bridgers. Let me just make it clear that is not Levi's favorite of the group.
But, yeah.
In fact, your least favorite.
Yeah, I would say that. So.
And mine, to the extent that I'm even aware that she exists.
Yeah, well, you know. All for another day. I'll say this of Phoebe Bridgers. She makes good music.
I mean, I know all these characters are cardboard cutouts, whatever, but this girl, Trixie, has been nothing literally the whole time.
Yeah.
Just purely whatever. Which one was it?
She's the woman one. That's what it's literally doing, yeah. It's like, we don't care about
Lola,
the lady one.
Lola Bunny and Space Jam.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know.
Look, MC Gainey is the drummer.
I was wondering who the human drummer was going to be because they had to keep that up.
Now, this is kind of country music, sort of.
When we're saying it's kind of, that's not good overall, though. Toe blasting getting down.
Yeah. Well, you know what the good news is? This movie's almost over.
Yeah, that is good news.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You think I should, you know, at both the Julian Baker and Genesis show, ask them, like, run backstage and ask them if they'll play some Country Bear songs for us?
So he's came all the way around, which he already did, basically.
Yeah.
But he's now proud of his bear brother.
By the way, I love he's been wearing the same clothes the whole movie. I mean...
Yeah. Well, they about all have.
No, I know, but specifically
the rich one
him.
had kind of changed, I think, several times, but...
Watching from the wings.
They all have to just smell horrific.
Yeah. Oh, it's coming down.
The music knocked down the sign.
See what the funny thing about this is to me too? Is it's like, okay,
there's something funny.
Yeah, they saved the bear hall.
Mm-hmm.
What then?
That's why I was just saying.
Yeah,
like, what is the What are we going to do with this venue here on out?
Like, unless they get back together or something, I don't know.
Which I don't
remember.
He's one of them.
I'm gonna start doing that. Just
You're the bear.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Peter Hastings' career.
Yeah, don't forget this movie didn't make money, so
imagine that. I gotta just see. I don't want to just throw Peter Hastings totally under the bus here. Just see if he did anything else. Let's see. Did some short films after this.
Basically for Disney, it looks like.
Yeah, Mission Space. He acted. Epic Tales of Captain Underpants. Did some narration.
Look at this image based on the song ends.
There we go. We got through it. Country Bears.
Wait.
Look at that little shot. This is some barbecue Willie Nelson was having. It's like,
well, we need you to do this.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
So they transitioned to hip hop too. Looks like YouTube, basically.
Yeah. It sounds like a bunch of fascist crap to me.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're literally not. They're literally not human beings.
But as you said, Lyle Lovett should have been in this. I don't know where he was at. He should have been the villain.
Yeah,
like
that would have made more sense.
Yeah, and like really channeling his like, I'm ruining birthday cakes vibe from Shortcuts.
Right.
Like, now he did appear in Walt Card the Dewey Cox story.
Right.
Towards the end of that.
What? Okay.
Well, there we go. Country Bears. From 2002.
Yeah. It's not good, so.
And the lead up to the Iraq War, this is what the American public
and no, don't turn your TVs off, America. Like, don't try and hide from that fact, okay? Like, that was going on, and this is what people were doing, okay? So, you're implicated. Yeah. I mean, am I? No, because I was a child. So, anyway.
So, yeah, it's still not good. I mean, yeah. It is crazy, though.
Well, Glenn John's the producer.
You just, I know each movie's its own thing, but you just see the resources at work in this.
Yeah.
Versus what, like, the Pirates movie is.
Yeah.
It's just, like, worlds apart. But that shows you the expectations that they had were very different, in a lot of ways. But.
Yeah, not enough Walken.
Yeah.
But also too much Walken.
That's what I'm saying. If you get him, you got to have more of that part. But if you get someone else, then you can get away with not doing as much. But
oh no!
But if he got paid, I guess.
Yeah.
So. Bear suit fabrication assistants, Bear hair department. All right, so hit stop on this.
Yeah, we're done.
We're done. So, speaking of Walken, I was trying to find some like interviews of like him talking about, what it was like to be on set and how the Country Bears fits into his larger career and choices. But believe it or not, I can't on YouTube, at least what little I was doing, can't find him talking about the movie. All which to his benefit, I would not want to be found talking about it either.
Yep.
So we usually end episodes with just like a little behind the scenes thing or a interview or a dose of this or that, but we can't really find anything of interest in this. So Levi suggested, I think this is a good idea, just to talk about some of the books we've been reading recently. We're about to go on vacation as well.
Yeah.
By the time you're hearing this, we'll actually have already been back going to Virginia of all places.
Y'all can't go with us.
Nope. Sorry. We're going to have a fun time without you. Yep. You'll just have to find your own fun time somewhere else. So what's some books you've recently been reading?
Of course, I just finished The Underground Railroad.
Yeah, I think we made mention of this a few times on the pod. You were reading it.
Totally great book. One thing I'll say, the best thing I can say now also is that we just barely started the show, and that's amazing.
Yeah, we've only seen 2 episodes so far. But I think you said this when we were watching the second episode. Barry Jenkins is probably the best working filmmaker in terms of just pure visuals. If you're like, I'm going to see something that I haven't quite seen before, and it's going to look like nothing I've seen before. He's certainly delivering that with this show so far. And so we're only 2 episodes into that, but really loving that so far.
And then just a few days ago, I just barely started Look Homeward Angel by Thomas Wolfe. There's a lot of reasons I'm reading that. One, just because he's the North Carolina writer. Mm-hmm. Was born in Asheville.
And this is kind of a veiled analog for Asheville,
yeah, it's
right?
Like it's called Altamont Catawba. Funny enough, is where it is. But yeah, and it's basically he wrote 4 major novels. The last 2 of which were actually published after his death. He died. He was only like 37 years old. He was born in 1900.
What did he die from?
So I think it was pneumonia that turned into tuberculosis. I don't really know how that's possible, but supposedly that's what happened. But anyway, his books are pretty long actually, so it might take me a little while to. Well, it's only like 500 to 600 pages, but there's a lot on the page, so
takes a while to get through.
Yeah, so it might take me a little while to get through that, but I just barely started that. Already really loving that. His books, everybody knows this about him, very autobiographical, kind of about his life, and I can already tell that. But yeah, so that's what I just started reading. But
I've been reading for several weeks now. I'll be done in about a week from now, I think. William Gass's novel, The Tunnel. And every time I've talked to somebody about this book, I always have to preface to say this is a novel. This is not a nonfiction account because it sounds like when you're describing it, it is nonfiction. It's a novel about a academic who just published or is about to finish this book called, I believe, Guilt and Innocence in Hitler's Germany. And it's about him sitting down to write the introduction to this work of nonfiction. And him struggling with what he can say to introduce such a book. And very quickly you understand that while he might not be clinically insane, he is kind of on an interpersonal, spiritual level insane, untethered from reality, and is basically rambling on about what first it seems as though is purely his the nature of history, what he went through to write this book on a mental, spiritual level, his academic colleagues, adversaries, contemporaries, his contempt or jealousy of them, and then it also devolves into him talking about his own life, his past, his adolescence, growing up, coming of age, and then also his wife a lot, Martha.
Yeah.
It's kind of probably if there's another character in the book, so to speak, I guess it would be her.
What's his name?
William, I believe.
Okay.
Some people call him Bill, but his name's William Kohler, I believe.
It's funny, he has the same first name of the author. I guess that says something.
And then also a little bit about his kids. It has a reputation for being a very challenging book. Recently, a few years ago, I was watching a Q&A, an interview with David Foster Wallace, who's someone I really admire and a lot, Infinite Jest among his other writings. And he was talking about some books that he thought were maybe a little overrated or a little bit didn't think a lot of, and that was one of them. And it's very avant-garde. Again, it's like almost very stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
And so it jumps all over the place. It's a very tough book. Even books that I don't really like, that I respect, I usually say, I would still recommend you read this to someone if they're serious about books, serious about literature. This is a book I don't even know if I would do that to very, very many people. But I'm glad I'm at least reading it to get through it. The pantheon of, quote, difficult books, there's this, there's Infinite Jest, there's Gravity's Rainbow. Out of those three, I would say this is by far the least entertaining. By far the least entertaining. And it makes a point of, what someone looking into the abyss of what Nazi Germany was, if you really look into it, you can only be driven insane, is basically the point it's making. Yeah. And I get that. And I got that point like 10 pages into the book, or 15 pages in, and here I am nearing 500 pages, and I'm like, I still get it.
Yeah.
But there are also really beautiful, intense stretches in the book of this very brutal, bracing honesty that is very sobering and is very, wow, this is pretty great, actually. But it's in the midst of this other shenanigans that's going on as well.
So you say that the Country Bears didn't reflect that in the same way that
I would
William
love to hear
Gass
William
did.
Gass's thoughts on the Country Bears is what I would love to hear. Doesn't really... it's hard to believe that we just spent all this time talking about this piece of trash movie, and then here in a little bit I'm going to go back to reading this book, a whole other realm of consciousness. That again, I don't know if I would only recommend it to very certain specific people with the knowledge of you better know what you're getting into reading something like this. Because as I said, even Infinite Jest, like, while that is a challenging book, it has this very clear series of narratives to it that you see a lot of the contemporary world in. This book feels like it's from an alternate dimension, and while there are certain things you can glean from, it honestly feels too academic and too removed from the, quote, real world.
Right.
But it also is someone who is academic and untethered to the real world. So in that way, I give it credit, but very challenging read.
Yeah.
And again, I wouldn't recommend it easily to somebody. Yeah. I would really have a long conversation with them about what they're getting into before they read it. But I'm also simultaneously, and this book had been my like break-in case of emergency book for years now, and I was in the midst of reading the Tunnel, and I was like, I need just some escape as I'm reading this. Something is a bounce off, something different, and so I finally broke open David McCulloch's 1776, which I know he wrote almost as a little addendum or almost his own little getaway from John Adams, which
okay.
He had spent so much time researching John Adams.
Well, that's a lot shorter of a book, right?
Yeah, that
John
he
Adams.
had kind of like, I think I might be speaking wrong about this, but I think like all the research he had done for John Adams, he kind of came across the narrative of what this book is about, 1776, and was like, oh, you know what, I might do that after I do John Adams, and kind of a shorter book and kind of a little bit of a different thing. It's certainly of the time period of the Revolution. And John Adams is even quoted in the book, and some of his letters and diaries and stuff are even come to the fore. But it's principally about kind of the journey of Washington's army over the course of late 75 all the way through 76, especially the early goings of it. It's about the Siege of Boston and the challenge of whether or not they were going to be able to really withstand and withhold the British that were there in the city and drive them out, which they were able to in Boston, but then a larger army comes back to New York in the midst of when the Declaration was actually kind of being finalized. And so it kind of acts as an interesting counterpoint to, while all these weighty, high-minded debates are being had about the separation of the colonies from Britain, and the day-in, day-out struggles of Washington and his army. And while Washington's almost the main character of the book, not that far behind, arguably even maybe really the main character of the book's Nathaniel Greene, who was kind of Washington's, one of his youngest generals who went on to be a great general in the war, and also Henry Knox, who would be our first Secretary of War. Yeah. So it's just, if you read any David McCulloch before, he's one of our best historians, I think. His John Adams biography is outstanding. I can't recommend that highly enough. And this is of that same period, but also much more about the rigors of war life, because, of course, Adams was mostly a diplomat and mostly spent a lot of the Revolution, if not with the Continental Congress, in Europe, in France, and in various places. So this has been my break in case of emergency book for some time, and I was thinking, we're getting ready to be heading to Williamsburg and thinking about the days of the colonies and the Revolution, and I was like, wanting to kind of read that. Not a lot of the events take place in Virginia, hardly, all in the book. But anyway, so I'm kind of reading both of those, and I normally don't read two books at once, and I'm not going to make a practice of that either. This is really just to get through the tunnel. I need something else to do as well. But so that's what I'm reading currently, and I know you're this way too. I like to set quotas for, I got to get this many pages read a day, and that's, especially when you're reading a longer book, I really highly recommend that, because you don't feel like you're getting through a lot, but then you look back over a few days and you're like, I did get through 100 pages. And the tunnel has been a tunnel into the subconscious, undoubtedly. I know for that one as well, William Gass spent nearly 30 years writing the book.
I've heard that. Yeah, because he wrote a book in the 70s, Olmstetter's Luck.
Which I read, David Foster Wallace thought a lot of, and said, this is a much better book than the Tunnel.
I think that's a more interesting sounding book, too. And then I think he wrote another book, was it Middle Sea, that is also kind of about the Holocaust, I think. And so I guess that's something he was very interested in. I don't know. But
and I should say, another big thing about the tunnel is, and I've showed people this, and they're like I can see their mouths kind of drop as they're looking at it, that there's actually not as much of this as the book goes on, but especially in the beginning, there's a lot of it. You turn the page, and all of a sudden, certain words are bolded or are in various weird patterns. Sometimes there's art on the page, very weird print style. And again, as the book goes on, there's not as much of that. I wonder if he got bored with it, or he wanted to do that early on as a way to signal to you that what is going on in the character's head, and that by the point I'm in now, that it's very much established. You don't need to necessarily go over that over and over again. But I keep early on, I kept turning the page, waiting for, like, if you've seen The Sorcerer's Stone, where Harry's in the forbidden section, the restricted section of the library, and the head comes out of the book. Even now, deep into the book, there's still a part of me that, like, turning the page, and I'm like, is that going to happen? Because who the hell knows? But again, it's a very difficult book, and I don't really like it. But I don't always go to literature to see something I just quote like. I want to be challenged, and so in that way, I'm liking it. But it's something else. A little bit more challenging than the Country Bears.
I think so. Yeah.
But so that does it for today's episode. But next week,
it's actually funny. I didn't think about until now the kind of relationship between these two movies is interesting. Actually, that they're both adaptations of something in a way.
Yeah, the next one's a board game.
Yeah,
not a theme park ride exactly. But there is kind of a phenomenon we've wanted to take part in. We haven't. I know our mom wants to as well, as like the murder mystery theater experience. And this is going to be 1985's Clue, which you're a big fan of. So speak to maybe why we're picking Clue and what Clue brings to mind.
Firstly, I guess another question is, should a board game be adapted? I don't think we're going to talk that much at length about that.
That's even more of a niche thing because there actually haven't been that.
Right, really. and we kind of already talked about that with Jumanji today, and Battleship, and Zathura, and Candyland's being made, and I mean, so it's interesting that I don't think we planned that both of these are, but. I don't know. I mean, it was one of the first DVDs I ever bought. I remember there was that time we went to Best Buy. You want to know the movies that we bought there? I remember it was Clue and Over the Hedge were the two movies I bought. We're not going to be doing Over the Hedge on here. Not all that good, but I rewatched that.
There's
actually.
Dr. Phil.
Yeah, I actually rewatched that.
You are a dirtbag.
Not very long ago, and it's not good. And I think bought V for Vendetta. And maybe something else. Anyway, this was in like the late 2000s.
Yeah.
But that was one of the first DVDs I bought for myself. I've always really liked it, and I think that people have come around in the last few years and have kind of been...
It's actually kind of a big cult movie now.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, look at me, but I've been actually a pretty big fan of it for a while.
I'll just say this, but as long as I've known about this movie, Levi's always been beating the drum for it, and I know he was doing that before he even knew that there was this big wider fandom
and it's
of it,
not, and let me say, it's like probably a 3.5-star movie. Like, it's not that great. There's nothing that's that new about it.
But the cast is what's so memorable about it.
But I think that's what is that I really like about it is the cast. And by the way, the fact that other than everybody else in the cast, the fact that Lee Ving, whose house smells just like a zoo, is chock full of blank and puke. The Lee Ving of the band. Oh Lord, was it Fear? Yeah, I think he was in Fear. That punk rock band, that he's Mr. Body in that. Mm-hmm. That's just another level of casting I think is just hilarious to me. But that like it's just a very but what I think works about it is that it's an adaptation of the board game. And it's a comedy, and of course,
to that extent, the most famous thing about it is that it has multiple endings,
right? Which I think is,
and I guess back in the day, that if you bought a ticket to it, you didn't really know what ending you were going to be getting, as A, B, or C, or 1, 2, 3.
And we'll tell you now, we're going to be watching all 3 endings. I'm pretty sure I just bought the Blu-ray for it. I've had the DVD for a long time, but I want to get a Blu-ray. That it I think has. I'm assuming it has a feature where you can watch all 3 because. I prefer one over the other 2 very definitively, so I want to see that. Plus, it's just we need to talk about all of them. So,
and this would be a chance for us to maybe in general talk about the murder mystery.
Right.
I think it's coming back a little more in vogue thanks to the success of Knives Out, which was
and then
good.
Also that they did the Murder on the Orient Express, which is also being Death on the Nile. They're doing a version of
too. We know who was the star of that, right?
Kenneth Branagh.
Was in the Armie Hammer. Is actually, Kenneth Branagh reprises his role.
Yeah.
But, like, one of the main characters of this new one was Armie Hammer.
Oh, okay. Which, I didn't know that. Well, too bad. By the way, I think I heard that they canceled the Call Me By Your Name sequel now officially.
Yeah,
So, good. Don't need any of that.
Yeah.
So, as a big fan of Call Me By Your Name.
Anyway, Clue.
Yes, so Clue. But, yeah, I don't know. I've just always thought it's really funny. I think, like I said, it's the actors are really good. But, yeah, I mean, it seems like there are a lot of people that really do love that. All of a sudden, I'm kind of like, okay, I don't know where were y'all at? Where did you come from? I don't know, but and I think it's made at a very particular time. Not when it was made in the mid '80s, but it was about the '50s. I think it's set in like 1954. If I remember
there's a lot
correctly.
of '50s nostalgia in that.
Right.
80s.
Well, and it's a lot. And there's a lot of specific kind of like. Cold War era paranoia and like blackmail and like a lot of things that were very specific to that time period that it integrates into the
1954
movie.
it says, yeah.
I think the reason I remembered that is just because our dad was born in 1954, so anything that's 1954 adjacent, I always remember that. But yeah, I think that it randomly purposes itself well for being what it is, and I think it's actually pretty successful in that. I don't know, I just like it. There's not any real reason.
I haven't seen it a whole lot myself, but I've always liked it, and especially the cast. I really remember.
Well, and I think
Madeline Kahn, especially.
Yeah, she's really funny. Yeah, in that, and
Christopher Lloyd, I think he's in it.
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd, Martin Mull, Tim Curry, of course. I can't remember who the other two females were.
Leaving, as you said.
Who were those other two? Colleen Camp, yeah, and
Eileen Brennan.
Eileen Brennan, that's right. Because I knew they were people. I knew who they were, but I couldn't remember their names. Also, but another thing about the movie, and it is a comedy. I don't want to act, but it actually kind of freaked me out when I was younger because it's kind of got some moody, scary, some suspenseful things about itself.
Sure.
So it's obviously not scary or anything, but it kind of was to me at the time, and I felt like it's like honestly, and I like the movie a lot still, and I think it is good, and I've appreciated it in other ways as I've gotten older. But ultimately, I just like it because it was kind of a movie. I thought, oh, this is a really, big movie. This is like a serious kind of adult movie when I was a little bit younger and getting more into movies at that time, and it was a DVD I bought and liked, and so that's part of why I still love it. But I think it is worth itself, and I think it would lend easily to commentary because it's funny, and it like I said, by the nature of it having multiple endings, I feel like there just needs to be something said for that in a way.
Sure.
And I have a specific thing I want to talk about those endings is that I won't spoil it in case you don't know, but go and watch them all if you can before then. But there's a very specific thing about two of the endings are very similar about a certain aspect that I want to talk about why that is, and I don't have an answer for why that is, but I want to interrogate. But anyway, and then the other one's very different from those, which is I think the best one. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing. Like I said, I hope a lot of people come to that one. I know a lot of people like it. So I think,
Yeah, Country Bears though.
No.
Rest in peace to the Country Bears.
We're not going to be.
Country Bears never got a sequel, and it didn't deserve one. So there you go. So this is Kyle.
This is Levi.
Take care. God bless.
So nice. Goodbye.